Oh, you already did the countdown.
Yeah, I did.
What a fucker.
You couldn't get your tab because apparently you painted your nails or something.
I didn't paint my nails. I have no nails. That's why.
Mm-hmm. Don't want to ruin that manicure. Man-a-cure. You know what I mean?
Shut the fuck up. What beer are you drinking?
Welcome to Movie Boners.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the show.
The beer I have today is just one that seemed like it would be good on a fall day, a nice, cool fall day. It's from the Springdale Beer Company, and I just found out they're out of Massachusetts.
Okay.
Framingham, Massachusetts, and is called Brig. It's a mocha stout, chocolate coffee stout, and it is delicious.
All right. Mine will probably be fairly polarizing.
Oh.
Yeah. And this will be a moment I think you're going to laugh at me for.
Okay.
So I am drinking House of Torment. It's a pumpkin ale.
I came so close to getting a pumpkin ale this time.
I actually didn't get it because it's a pumpkin ale. I got it for the name and was like, hey, that's fitting for the show. It's a good thing I really like pumpkin pie because this kind of tastes like pumpkin pie.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah. I kind of like it, but it's from, where are you? Fourth Tap Brewing right here in Austin. So if you like pumpkin pie, this is a pretty good beer. It's a pretty good beer.
I hear a lot of people shit on pumpkin beer, but pumpkin pie sounds great. Everybody likes that.
I think I really like that. So
nice.
I guess I'm a basic white guy.
Yep, exactly. You might as well be wearing Ugg boots.
Yeah, I'm definitely not wearing Ugg boots.
Well, thank you to Wandering Lion Studios for our beer. They sponsor our beer segment. Wandering Lion Studios is an awesome independent film studio out of Michigan. Go check them out, wanderingLionStudios.biz. And they have some new stuff coming out, new short films that they're making, but they also have services that normal people can take advantage of. Things like they'll review your script and give you constructive feedback. They'll film behind the scenes or film your actual project if you need that. So yeah, if you have use of them, definitely check them out. Very cool guys.
Yeah. We've gotten to know them decently well over the last year, so check them out. Yeah. They're a lot of fun. They're really easygoing guys to talk with, and they're all about independent artists. So if that's you, hit them up.
They've been great supporters of the podcast even before they started sponsoring it. They're just really helpful and cool guys.
Yeah. We've taken a lot of advice from them, actually, especially from the early days. So thank you, Wandering Lions. You guys rock. Man, this beer is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish I had more than just one of this flavor.
You didn't get a whole sixer?
No. So when I go to get the beer, I'll usually try to get like my create your own 6-pack. That way I have an easier time picking a beer out for the episodes.
Good variety.
Yeah. Tracking this one down was a little difficult, though, because all the fall beers are pretty much gone. And now all the Christmas beers are here. So my daughter actually is the one that found this for me. And she was like, Dad, it says Torment. You like that? And I don't know how to take that.
Dad, you're tormented, aren't you? You have a tormented soul, I hear.
But it turns out she picked a pretty good beer for me. So thank you, kiddo.
Yeah. Can't complain about that.
I like this beer. I like it a lot.
Speaking of things you like a lot, I know that this episode will be, I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, a very personally important episode for you, yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was very excited for bringing this up, largely because I enjoy how passionate you are about Michael Myers and Halloween.
I fucking love Michael Myers. I love Michael Myers.
You marry him already.
He is my favorite. I would. probably shouldn't do that because I would not survive. But that would be cool. So
Bride of Michael Myers fan fiction with you.
With me getting married and then dying immediately. Yeah. So watching all these movies, one thing kept going through my head of like, man, it must be so much fun to die by Michael Myers' hands. Like it just like it looks so much fun. And that might be the most fucked up thing I say today. It looks like a blast.
It reminds me of how adverse you are to cult movies, like cults in general, in real life, also not just movies. But I think if there was a cult following of Michael Myers who sacrificed himself to him just because it was fun, that's something you would be susceptible to.
I would not do that. The fictitious death. The fictitious death looks like fun. You fucker. He's my favorite horror character. He's just, oh my God. When you were like, hey, you want to do a whole Halloween episode? Like, fuck yeah. I'm not going to lie. Well, actually, you know what? I will neither confirm nor deny, even though that's basically admitting. I almost went and spent a god-awful amount of money on like a full Michael Myers suit, complete with the mask and everything, just for this. And then I was like, no, because you're an adult and you should probably like not spend money that you don't need to.
I thought being adult meant that you could spend as much as you wanted on like a full-size Batman outfit, a full-size Michael Myers outfit. Although I will say it's more
I've almost done that too.
It's more economical to just get the mask and then just get a general mechanics.
Right. So I opted out of doing that, and I figured, I've got the shirts, I've got my Funko Pop, I've got my new print of Michael. Wow. I told you, but were we recording? Or it had to have been right before you hit record, where I debated like having a giant knife with me while we recorded. I opted out of that because we're not sure how YouTube would have responded to me holding an actual weapon. So, I'm stoked, which is funny. So, Michael Myers is my favorite, but I'm not a big fan of a whole lot of the franchise. Like, there's some of the sequels that are just, nope.
I totally understand that because my fandom about a lot of things is that way too, where I latch onto a specific thing about some topic and I like just that piece of it or just that style of it, and all the other styles I'm like, oh gross, don't stop messing with my thing.
Yeah.
And I know there are a lot of people that love something so completely and genuinely that they love every single thing that exists about it. Like if there's an anime about it, they'll love it. Even if they don't like anime, they just love that thing. And I'm not that person. I'm like, no, I like this style, this mood, this like coloring, all of the like very specific things about it.
Yeah. But I'm excited to talk about it because although I'm not a fan of a handful of the sequels, I will still find myself like watching all of them just so I can see a kill or, a kill.
Yeah. Let's say none of them are terrible, but several of them are below average for sure.
Yep. But there's a lot of fun little tidbits about these movies. So
yeah, and a long history for sure. So I think because there are 12 movies, so we're going to include Halloween Kills, the latest release, kind of do what we just did with James Bond, where there's new movies coming out, and that's really fun to do, and touch on this series that led up to that release that just happened. So we'll be going through 12 movies because there's a lot of them. Probably won't go super deep on them, but I'm sure we'll spoil some. Just kind of talk in general about how the landscape built up to this, and then what we thought about the latest movie also at the end.
Yeah, I imagine we'll probably have a lot to say about Halloween Kills. I know you and Christy were eager to get my opinions. I've had coworkers eager to get my opinions, and I keep telling everyone, like, you're going to have to wait till we record. I do have opinions on Halloween Kills.
Good. I've been waiting desperately to hear what you think about it, because I have opinions too, but mine matter less because I'm less of a super fan.
We should dive into this, man. We should dive into this.
The only other thing I was going to say, because we've been doing this episode or this podcast for a little while, we're dropping this around Halloween. Obviously, the series is synonymous with Halloween, the holiday. But if you are interested in like general horror movies, definitely check out our top 10 horror episode and our we had a Halloween Monster Mash episode where we just listed cool, low, like unknown or lesser known, less common Halloween movies you should check out last year. So, but this year we're just going to go through kind of the Godfather of Halloween movies.
Yes, it's in the name, the whole thing. Like every sequel takes place on Halloween night. I liked how you posted there's no other, what did it say? No other franchise that is so synonymous with the holiday. And it's true, which is funny because Halloween itself, it's not just like it happens to take place on Halloween because that's an easy sell. Like Halloween night ends up being very important for Michael Myers. Freaking clown outfits, man. You got to watch out for those clown outfits.
Oh yeah, 100%. Clowns are just as dangerous as anything else. That's what you learn from this.
Clowns are the gateway killer suit, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
No offense to professional clowns out there, but you kind of freak people out.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
Right.
All right, so you want to get into this?
We might as well.
So,
man, I'm trying to find. I forgot to jot down my one big note, and now I can't find where I had originally. Oh my god, what the hell? Oh, this is new. We're trying new things.
We're trying to be new. We're trying to be modern.
Yes.
We're evolving as a podcast. So if you're not watching the video version, I've pulled up the Halloween trailer, which I don't know if I'll have any audio. Probably no audio would be best for this. I thought we'd watch some of the trailers, and we have an actual timeline because the timeline of these movies gets very complicated and confusing.
It gets a little wacky, and I do have a very fun note on the timeline of the Halloween franchise. So
nice. So I'm going to pause the video. One of the things, obviously, that Halloween is huge about is the slasher genre. It kind of helped define the slasher genre more clearly, made it more mainstream. Wasn't the first movie to put the audience in the point of view of the killer, as we learned from Scream and other, history, things that happened. But I think it is probably the most powerful or most well-known one that did do that. And I think that kind of pushed that idea forward in a much more mainstream kind of way, you think?
Yeah, I agree. I also think the fact that the movie came out in 1977, right? 77 or 78?
Sorry, 78.
1978. So that's actually one of my favorite things about that original Halloween is how dated it is. Because in 1978, that was still when filmmaking was, we kind of have to learn how to do this. We don't have any special techniques quite yet. We have to create as we go. Mm-hmm. And so having the whole filming it from the killer's perspective, especially the opening sequence with Michael as a child, it helps sell that. It kind of puts you in the same mentality of when you watch Jaws, mm-hmm. where you feel uncomfortable and oh my god, you're looking through Michael's eyes and you're stabbing your sister 16 times. It does such a great job of kicking things off to make you uncomfortable from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the best things about Michael. But I love the fact that it's so old. And you watch the whole franchise, and the first Halloween is still, in my opinion, the most effective mm-hmm. in making you uncomfortable, making the scare not so much just lost how I was going to say that, but it's not so modernized scary. They don't worry too much. I mean, the kills are brutal, yes, but it's not over the top. It always feels like a struggle. You feel, I mean, when he stabs a guy in the gut and leaves him hanging on the door, which is a little thing they've kept running throughout the whole franchise, but the first one is the best one because you hear it like the squelch is so well done in that original one, and the legs twitching is so well. I love it. Yeah. I love it. I was telling my daughter that's probably my favorite kill in the whole franchise. She was like, "Dad, there's something wrong, man." I'm like, "Don't judge me, child."
Right.
But I do love how old it is, and I love that time period when you watch Halloween, you really do kind of have to put yourself into what it was like in the late 70s. You know, there was still a mentality of neighborhood safety,
right?
And Halloween kind of squashes that. And now you've got a slasher who doesn't talk. There's no reasoning with him. He's just there to kill you.
Right. Yeah, we had
so much fun.
We had things. I've heard that Halloween was credited with in being inspired partly by Psycho and Texas Chainsaw and things that came before. But all of those are out in the sticks, out in the boonies, kind of off the beaten path. And Michael Myers is in a suburban neighborhood, like a very popular, safe, wholesome kind of place where you have, you know, stereotypical white picket fences and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, for it to become a nightmare scene is pretty scary. And I like definitely what you said about how old it is and how they had to do certain things or try certain things for the first time. I think that's a huge credit to John Carpenter, who wrote, directed, composed the theme, and is an absolute legend. John Carpenter is like an absolute genius, and he made this very early on in his career. Like the only other movie that gets talked about nowadays before this was Assault on Precinct 13, but this was right after that and before everything else, before The Thing, before They Live, before everything.
Yeah, Halloween did a lot of cool things for filmmakers, actresses, namely Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, introducing her.
Yeah, John Carpenter. Halloween was so well done. It was like that perfect trifecta where they just tapped into everything that would make it effective. And it is an effective film, and it's awesome seeing John Carpenter's career just blowing up right after that. Him becoming like a godfather in not only the horror genre, but in filmmaking in general. Like his name is just, you respect the hell out of that name.
Right.
And then Jamie Lee Curtis's career just takes off, and she inadvertently starts a whole new brand when it comes to horror, which was like the Scream Queen thing.
Yeah.
And she's still regarded as like, nope, she is the all time, you know, she was very, and then I always laugh too. So Halloween also really you had Texas, so Leatherface was already there, but I don't really consider Texas Chainsaw like the slasher style flick.
Yeah.
It's just a very disturbing movie, whereas Halloween is straight slasher, and it really kind of propelled that whole idea of the slasher killer character in the genre and beyond, because there's plenty of slashers in like mystery films or dramas now, but it's so cool to see how Halloween has had such a lasting effect on audiences. I mean, you watch like when the Halloween from 2018, when the preview started rolling for that, and people realized it was a oh shit, Michael Myers is back, and the previews are hinting at the brutality. Halloween Kills preview comes out, and they're hinting at the brutality, flat out showing you some. And both times, I just remember the audiences I was in the theater with just being like, oh no. Like, people are so uncomfortable and immediately like, ooh, there's a feeling or whatever that comes with Michael Myers where like it's just pure danger.
Yeah.
There's no like you're not going to get a villain that's going to give you a big speech and laugh at you. You have a villain who's just going to kill you with whatever is near him at the moment.
Right.
And I think that's pretty cool and how effective he's been over the years. I've talked to other friends who saw Halloween, the original, at young ages, and they're still affected by it, now in their 30s, where they're like, shouldn't have watched that movie when I was 6 years old or 7 years old. They're like, have a hard time being home alone to this day. And you're like, I get that. I understand that feeling. I didn't watch Halloween until I was a teenager, but I immediately latched to it. I was just so hooked immediately into the world of Haddonfield, and I don't know why, but I've always loved the little detail that they chose Illinois as the state to set this film in.
It's very.
It just seems so. Yeah, it's so random to me, and just they made this nice little suburban town where it is that perfect neighborhood. Oh, we had this horrible tragedy, but now the town has made such a point to kind of hide it, and we've moved on, we found peace, and then of course Michael comes home, and the body count in the first movie is only 3.
Yeah, very low.
That he actually murders. Yeah. But it always feels higher, and the 3 kills are very effective because they're so brutal. they're so upfront. Okay, so you just paused it right there.
Yeah.
So you got
I'm amazed they have this scene in the trailer, because it's the most scary and effective scene to me.
Whenever Michael is lurking, and you see the hints of him lurking in the shadows and shit.
Yeah.
That's genuinely frightening. Young kids, most audiences see this kind of image, and they're instantly just looking behind their shoulder. Well, it looks like I have the night light on tonight.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the boogeyman tonight. Yeah, you are.
Yeah. That's always been one of the fun things about Michael Myers and Halloween, is how he has become paired with the boogeyman lore that kids have already been afraid of, that there's something under the bed, there's something in the closet, and there is often in these movies, and his name is Michael Myers, and he's in your closet, and
right.
He's so scary for that reason. But everything you said is perfect, and these are my favorite scenes as well, where he is in the background, he's in a reflection in the window, and he's just kind of always there, always watching from a distance, always sneaking up. Never runs anywhere, never chases anybody. He's just walking. He's an unstoppable force that's coming after you, and you can't do anything to stop it. He goes through doors, he goes through windows, and he's just intent on killing you.
And the dude can take a hit. He gets shot. He gets dropped out of a building. He's and he keeps getting up. So, funny thing about Michael Myers with my daughter. So, she has not watched Halloween. She is getting older now, where she's getting close to that age where I'm totally okay if she watches it. But, and that might be a hot take, because if she watches it with me, there are several times I'll tell her, cover your eyes.
Yeah.
Trust me, audiences, I'm not that bad of a dad.
I remember that phase very well, where you were old enough to watch cool movies, but not every part of the cool movie. You have to cover your eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
But this was a few years ago now. I had on my phone, my background was Michael Myers' face. And it was it was him in the shadows, so you only saw half of his face. And she saw the background, this photo on my phone from the backseat of my car, and instantly started screaming. Could not look at it, could not be around it. That is telling.
Yeah.
When you create a character, when you create a villain that is so disturbing and instantly frightening.
Yeah.
That you have, and she was
even
9.
Even outside of context, it's not like a scary situation. You just know by looking at it, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, that was before like she started asking questions about horror characters. Now she knows a lot about them because she's constantly asking questions. But I always took that as like if I could tell John Carpenter, give him some affirmation, not that he needs anymore, of like you did this so well. Michael Myers is so perfect. Yeah, you had my child who has no context to him see a photo and was like petrified.
That's scary.
She was so terrified.
Yeah.
So I had to change the background on my phone for quite a while. She just couldn't see Michael. Now she's a little more comfortable. Now
you have it
when she sees this. Right. Well, I told her that I was getting this and I showed it to her and she was like, "Can you not have it in the living room?" I was like, "I'm going to have it for the episode." She was like, "Can you put it in your room?" So I'm like, when you come home, I'll probably put it in my room. So there are two characters my daughter cannot handle looking at because they just give her the heebie-jeebies. Michael and Pennywise are the two.
Yeah.
Like every other character, she's like, whatever. But those two, she has that understanding of what they represent, and she's very like aware of how that makes her feel.
Yeah.
But Michael Myers is so good.
He taps into that base primal instinct of fear that you talked about. People in theaters see a trailer and they're just afraid of that guy. And I love this first movie because he doesn't do anything fancy. He just kind of walks around, follows people, stabs them, kills a couple of people. There are later movies where, and so I think for that reason, I associate him with like not basic, but like a base instinct, like carnal, animalistic kind of just need to kill, driven to kill.
Yeah.
And so late in other movies, when he does more human things like drive a car or is clever in some way, I'm like, that just feels weird. That's like not really. It's like seeing a dog like walking on his hind legs. It's just like that's that's.
I mean, he does.
I get it. He's a person. Yes, he passes as a person in the real world for long stretches of time where nobody knows where he is or what he's doing. But still, it's I prefer him just walking around killing people.
I mean, he does drive a car in the original one, but it's very short-lived. And you don't really like, it's not a focal point. He simply uses it just to like, I'm just going to get a little farther into town. And then he knows the neighborhood because it's where his home is.
Yeah.
And every installment though, I'm constantly like, why the fuck didn't you tear this house down?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Idiots. People keep moving into Michael's house and they make jokes about it. Idiots. Like, don't you know he's coming home? He will murder you.
Yeah. Yeah. Always comes home.
But yeah, that first one, I remember. So I watched it in high school when I was working at that video store, and I remember sitting down. This was after I had gotten over my fear of everything, because growing up I was afraid of like just everything. And then I finally got over that, and I'm watching Halloween, and I just remember watching the movie and being completely engrossed in it. But there were so many times during it where I wasn't afraid, but I was antsy. And that was different for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't just like laying down on the couch and being like, whatever, I can do that now. But back then, I was like, man, I'm like, every shot of him just watching Laurie broad daylight from like down the sidewalk, instantly like, this is like, you almost feel gross.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody talks about the point of view shots through the holes in his mask at the beginning, and that's certainly iconic for a slasher movie. But I think the over the shoulder view of him watching her walk down the sidewalk or walk across the street or whatever is even more scary, because you're looking at him,
it's just like,
you hear him breathing. It's just so scary.
It's frightening.
Yeah,
and there was so much in it, watching him just like, oh my God, this guy, every time they do a close-up of him, and it's really only in the original one, well, the original two, and then in the two most recent Halloweens, where they don't show Michael's eyes. So they'll do a close-up of him in the mask, but it's just black in the eyes. You don't see it. I've always loved that choice in creating this character because he's wearing it's a William Shatner mask that they just bleached and kind of made a little more ragged, which was not on purpose. In the script, all it was like he wears a pale mask. They had to desperately find a mask, and the William Shatner one was a last-second decision. So, fun tidbit. Oh, by the way, go follow our TikTok on Movie Boners. I am loading it up with fun movie tidbits. So there's a handful there now.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that thoroughly. I meant to bring it up as well. And you're resharing it to Instagram. If you don't have TikTok, just follow it on Instagram.
Yeah. But that is what makes Michael so effective, is they make you understand you can look this creature dead in the eyes, and there is nothing looking back at you. And it's such a frightening thing because you always hear about, like, with serial killers and all this, or we talked about it in our American Psycho episode where you can look at someone and there's just nothing behind the eyes. Well, what if it's just like an abyss of darkness?
Right.
And that's what Michael does, where it's so disconnecting from humanity that it's kind of hard to swallow.
Yeah. It reminds
when
me
they start showing his eyes, you kind of like, oh.
Yeah. Well, eyes are the window to the soul, and so it certainly humanizes him to know, oh, there's a person behind that. But what you just described reminds me of the monologue from Jaws, where he's talking about the shark's eyes and their black eyes, like a doll's eyes, and it's like, very kind of more, it's more terrifying.
It's fitting then, because Jaws, the shark in Jaws is my favorite Hollywood monster of all time because he's so effective, and there's no, you can't reason with it. Michael Myers is the shark.
Yeah,
he's just in Haddonfield.
He's a land shark.
He really is, and that might be another reason why he's so why I connect to, why I love that character so much. Because to me, he's such a fantastic villain because of those reasons. They got rid of all normal villain type things, and they just sent out a killing machine. And it's so effective. It's so effective.
He's a land shark. Now, he's a land shark who wears costumes, as I can see. This is the part that I always laugh at. I always think it's kind of funny that this guy who has generally no concern about walking through the streets and stabbing people to death in their homes in his normal outfit decided to put on this kid's sheet and glasses to pretend to be him and then walk in. Right.
It's almost like, because it's Michael. This is only the second time that he has ventured out to take life. So it's almost as if he's trying to figure out what his shtick is, if you will.
Hasn't committed to it.
Yeah, am I a playful killer or what? This is, in the first one, this is really the only time that you could say he's, playful in it. Because the rest of the time he just pops up and well, you're dead. Yeah. But it's funny that you brought up that we were talking about the eyes kind of aspect with Michael. So in the original 2 and then the most recent 2, they omit the eyeballs. You can't see his eyes. And those are the ones where he's not supernatural yet. When they start showing his eyes was when they started giving him the supernatural characterization. So I think that's kind of funny.
Interesting.
That you would think it would have been the other way around.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. That first movie, though, to this day, still has one of the most frightening scenes for audiences. And it's such a fun one for me. And when my daughter does watch this movie, I am stoked to watch her watch this scene.
Yeah.
Everyone should know what it is. If you've seen the first Halloween, this leads right up to it, where he bursts into the closet. But Laurie thinks that she has finally defeated Michael. He is laying motionless. He looks dead in the room, and she's up against the wall crying. She's cut up. dilemma with the boogeyman is finally done, and the man sits up. But it's not just that he sits up; it's how he sits up.
Yeah, he's got a great core strength. That guy.
Oh my god, that core strength is like what?
Yeah.
His back is straight, and he just sits perfectly straight up.
Yeah.
That first time...
It's like Dracula coming out of the grave or something. It's just like unnatural.
And everyone, that first time you watch it, when he sits up, every audience, especially when you're younger and all that, you see that, and then he looks at Laurie because he turns his head to look at her, but it's almost like he's looking at you at the same time. Everyone that first viewing was like, oh, fuck! Like, no!
Yeah. He's so effective.
Oh, man, that first movie's so fucking good. It's so good. I love Halloween so much. We didn't even really break down the movie. That was more of like, but I kind of like that. That first Halloween is such a great intro to your killer, to this now iconic character, not just in horror, but in Hollywood and film in general.
Right.
You hear horror, you hear killers, and people instantly think like, oh, so like Michael Myers. Yup.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the gold standard for sure. So I've pulled up our little timeline here, and
you did.
The very obvious next movie is Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. This is confusing to talk about because there's multiple movies called Halloween. There's multiple movies called Halloween 2. So Halloween 2 from 1981 is kind of what we're talking about next.
Yeah, and Halloween 2, although filmed in 1981, actually takes place, it continues to take place on Halloween night.
Yeah,
this is when Laurie, goes to the hospital after the events of the first movie. Halloween 2, I actually think it's one of the more underrated horror sequels. It's not a bad movie. It's actually pretty decent. They do change his mask up, which gets a little distracting at times during it because of it's supposed to take place on the same night. Why does his mask look so different during certain scenes?
Yeah, it's a continuity break, which is distracting.
It is. Man, okay, we got to talk just real quick. Those opening credits on these first two Halloweens with the jack-o'-lantern and the music, fuck.
I'm glad you brought it up because I totally forgot to. Yeah, those are my favorite with the jack-o'-lanterns and the different things they do in the different movies, whether it's just like rotting away or whatever they do with it. I love that. And it's just so slow and gradual, and it seems like it to me it mirrors Michael Myers, where it's a slow and gradual ends up in,
and it's like it is that theme song. And it just plays and plays. It keeps going. And the whole time you are just like unnerved. I played my daughter the Halloween theme song. And I told her the setup. I didn't show her like the opening credits. I just told her the setup. It's like all you see is a jack-o'-lantern. And it's either just lit or it like splits and you see a skull or it melts. And she was like, okay. And then I played the song for her, and she was like, Dad, you got to turn that off. It's like pretty freaky, right? And she was like, Dad, seriously, I can't listen to this song. And I'm like, all right.
That theme song is on the level with Michael Myers, where it's instantly scary no matter what. Imagine being John Carpenter, who is not just a great writer, not just a great director, but also composes music and comes up with this theme to go with this character. Unbelievable. And it's so perfect because you hear the Halloween theme song and immediately you're like, doom. There's nothing happy that I'm like, nothing good comes from this. Yeah.
And it's true.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. So obviously I was too young to watch the first two Halloweens in the theater, not allowed to watch any of the sequels until I was older and was afraid of everything. So even if I had been allowed, I don't think I would have. So the Halloween from 2018 was the first one that I got to actually enjoy in the theater.
Yeah.
And when they did the opening credits, I just remember sitting there being so giddy that I got to hear Michael's song in the theater surround sound, because it's so, like, it just feels like it's weighing down on you when you hear it. When they do those, like, deep tones, you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool.
But yeah, so Halloween 2 kicks off, and this is... It actually starts with the final scene from the first Halloween, where Michael is falling off of the balcony because Dr. Loomis has... I love Dr. Loomis, by the way, in the first two. I love his desperation to save everybody else's lives and fuck Michael. He spends the whole first two movies like, we need to kill him. Why is no one understanding the, like, importance of getting rid of this guy?
Yeah, he has I think it's in the first movie. He has several lines where he talks about he talked to this guy as a kid and kind of tried to help him for a while. Then he realized that he's pure evil and has been putting all of his effort into just containing him so that he never gets out. And then he does. And so, he feels like he needs to stop him at any cost.
Yeah. So it's right after that. Michael gets up. The famous scene from the first Halloween is they look in the yard where Michael fell and he's gone. And so this movie kicks up right there. And I actually really love this whole opening, like, bit in Halloween 2 where you see Michael continuing to kill, but now he's also trying to, like, avoid. It kind of does give you a humanistic, like, aspect of him, because he's... I don't want to get caught because I'm probably going to get shot and killed.
He's kind of on the run now.
Yeah. But he's not completely on the run. He's on the run not for his own sake, but because he's got unfinished business and he knows it. So he's like, it's because I gotta kill Laurie.
It'll let him kill as many people as possible if he is on the
run. Right. So I get a big kick out of that. And then Laurie is stuck in the hospital, and Michael is coming for her. And this is where, like, you learn the big twist that Michael and Laurie are actually siblings, which was a big shocker the first time you see Halloween 2.
Yeah.
They have since omitted that detail, but we'll get into that in a little while.
Yeah. It gets crazy. I was, like, trying to come up with episode titles for this, and I was like, there's a big, like, family tree thing going on, so maybe it's ancestry with Michael Myers or something. Yeah, it gets kind of wild, but I like Halloween 2. I like how it starts right after the first. It's just a continuation, and Laurie is, like, in the hospital because she's obviously been attacked by him, and that whole, like, Halloween segment of the movie, which is a big segment of the movie, is also very effective because she's kind of on the run in this dark hospital, which is basically mostly empty and just generally a scary place to be.
Right. Yeah, the hospital in Haddonfield, I don't think I would trust it very much.
Yeah.
It seems like security is not that great, but then again, that's where our this point in time is also used as a tool. It didn't have to be. You didn't have to worry about freaks wanting to come into the hospital. Well, I'm sure you did, but, it was a safe town. And a safer time period. I guess you could argue on a little bit of a scale, but I love Michael gets a little creative with his kills during the second one, but not too crazy. I think the most fun is him using the therapy pool where he cooks the chick, the woman. That scene's kind of fun. God, I sound so fucked up, man. I promise people I don't have these tendencies. It's just, when you're a fan of the genre, part of the fun is watching the kills because you want to see how they go. Jake's a big Saw franchise fan, so you can't get on me.
Yeah, exactly. The excitement is the creativity of the filmmakers mostly. That what new way will they think of for this person to bite the dust? And it's always and in Saw it's extremely elaborate. In this movie, it's more like, oh, he found a chainsaw for a second, or he found just like this tool that he lifted this guy up and stabbed him onto it. And so it gets a little bit elaborate, but the great thing about Michael Myers, which I paused it here for that reason, is his signature weapon is the knife. Is a knife, an ordinary chef's knife, kitchen knife that is in every single kitchen in America, in the world, every restaurant in the world. So this is one of the most common objects in a house, or even in anywhere that has a kitchen. They will have this object for sure.
They have this knife,
and so it's extremely simple for him to find one and kill you with it because it's everywhere.
He's pretty effective with that knife too. Did you notice rewatching the whole franchise? Mm-hmm. He actually cuts throats a lot.
Yeah.
It's not always just, I'm going to stab you a few times or crush your skull. That's a fun way he kills people. Yeah. Crushing the skulls is like, damn.
He just uses his physical strength and chokes them or crushes their brains. That's fun too. But I think there's one, I don't remember which one it is. It's later on, one of the wackier ones, where the knife is bizarrely massive. It's one of the most massive knife that no normal person would normally wield, and that's interesting. But I'd it's an ordinary kitchen knife. It's just fun.
It's just shy of machete size. So it was oh, you're not Jason. You're not.
Yeah,
but you got a weapon pretty close. But yeah, I know. I was thinking of that too. The knife after the second movie. Well, actually, after the third movie, the knife size increases. It was almost like the filmmakers were desperate to. We got to make him more daunting, and we'll get into why that was a bad idea. Yeah. But yeah, that second Halloween, I really do think it's kind of underrated. I think it deserves a little bit more love, especially from Halloween and Michael Myers fans, because it's an effective sequel. They do kind of introduce the supernatural aspect of Michael. They do hint at that. He can't die. Mm-hmm. Loomis runs around a lot saying, I shot the dude 6 times and he's still moving like I didn't shoot him once. Mm-hmm. So I do like that was the route they ended up going with. I think it would have worked a little better had Carpenter continued to make it, or better yet, had they only made 3 but made the third movie an actual Michael Myers film.
Yeah, I get that. But this one was directed by Rick Rosenthal, who also directed Halloween Resurrection, which we'll get to, and basically nothing else that you would recognize.
Right. Right. Oh, Resurrection. But
yeah, as far as the twist goes, with Laurie being his sister, who I don't think you don't see in the first one that he had a baby sister in a crib. That's in the Rob Zombie one. Yep. But so it is a massive surprise. You only thought he had the one sister, the sister that he murdered. And so him to be oh, there was another sister, a baby that was adopted and became this foster kid whose name changed. That's kind of out of nowhere. But I think that it works. I think that it's effective, and I kind of like and I kind of don't like. So I kind of have this issue with trying too hard to assert a motive to Michael Myers, where he has to go home, he has to kill all of the people in his family, he has to do this thing, and I kind of like it best when he just kills everybody haphazardly. If you're in his way, if you're doing what he may have a motive, but I feel like his motive is to kill people.
Yeah, and Haddonfield just happens to be kind of his that's his territory. That's his killing field. Mm-hmm. I do like that. I'm with you on that one. I don't mind the twist that she's his sister. I kind of like it, but I'm with you where when it comes to Michael Myers, you don't need any more of a motive other than he feeds off of killing. That is what he does.
Yeah.
Like that Loomis, that's all Loomis talks about is the dude only thinks about killing. He only wants to take life. There's nothing in him that is sentimental. There's nothing in him that worries about connection. He simply, I mean, he only comes to Haddonfield because he knows Haddonfield.
Right.
That's where he began his killing, so he's going to continue there. It's like a primal territory kind of thing. It's animalistic.
Yeah, he was locked up when he was a kid, so he didn't really have time to go anywhere. He probably was just in that area as a kid, then went into prison and psychiatric care, and so now he's an adult. That's all you know. Like, you're going to go home.
That's it. And I think that's motive enough, especially with this style of character. So I don't mind the twist. I like the twist, but at the same time, it was a twist that I feel kind of unnecessary. But it doesn't, I don't think it hurts the movie, or at least the story they're telling in the second one at all.
Yeah, agreed.
Which is a nice thing, that it's a twist that people can like get on board with or not on board with and still be able to enjoy the film for what it is. So but the kills are fun. Is it the second one that he shoves the shotgun through the guy's gut?
I think so.
Or was that like the fourth one? That kill is so brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true.
He just holds the shotgun and just... I think it's the second one, because I'm pretty sure it's one of the security guards that dies that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, so Halloween 2 ends. It's an open ending, because that is how you finish horror films that have sequels. You don't give them... alive. Yep. Yeah, you have to leave the ending kind of open just in case you want to make more, but not open enough just in case the studio opts out. So
yeah, exactly. And so in this case, I scrolled down because the timeline is now broken. There is this new movie that has nothing to do with anything else. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which you brought up in a previous episode. I think it was our Guilty Pleasures episode or a Halloween episode last year. I don't remember which.
It was one of those. I think it was actually the Halloween episode, the one where it was like just other like Halloween style films to watch. I think that was one that I brought.
Suggesting good ones. That would make sense. That would be a good one for this, because I hadn't seen it until now. This week, and you were not joking. Do not sleep on Halloween 3. It is a really fun Halloween movie, I think.
Yeah, it gets a lot of shit because it is titled Halloween 3, and coming off of Halloween 2, you expect Michael to be there.
A little unfair.
He's not.
Right on the coattails of Halloween 1 and 2.
Yes.
And he's
like 100%. Well, I mean, technically he does make a cameo, but it's weird because it's the movie Halloween that makes a cameo in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
It's like, so I was like, that's such a weird decision to just throw in there that there was like this trailer on the TV for this movie Halloween with Michael Myers in it. And so in this world of Halloween 3, the world these people live in, there's a movie called Halloween with Michael Myers that was, like I assume, the movie that we all just talked about, Halloween 1 and 2. Those are movies. And so it's kind of like a Scream thing before Scream was a thing, where this is, there was a movie and that's all it was. It's a weird choice.
Yeah, it's...
The rest
I don't know, like...
doesn't do anything with that.
Yeah, I don't know what version of meta Halloween 3 is, but it's somewhere in there. But Halloween 3, I defend this movie because it is actually, if it was only called Season of the Witch or something to do with the masks, I think it would have gotten a lot more love.
Yeah.
But because of the whole, like, why would you include this in the franchise when it's got nothing to do with Michael? Yeah. I understand the animosity to that, but it is a fun freaking movie.
It's also like very much centered around Halloween the holiday, so you could have called it Halloween Season of the Witch, and that would have been fine. But Halloween 3 means like, oh, this is
right.
up on what we just talked about.
But it is a lot of fun. I get a big kick out of this movie every time I watch it. It's so silly, and it fits so well into like the early 80s style of horror.
Yeah. Yeah, and I felt like there were Carpenter vibes in it still, because there's kind of a they live theme going on in this town, as there's this like corporate Halloween mask company which is going to murder a ton of people by having them view this special or commercial that
it's a commercial.
Yeah, and that has like this. Their masks have like this, radio frequency or RFID or some weird thing that picks up on the signal from this commercial that makes their heads like melt and does super
they like
creepy like spiders and snakes and stuff.
Yeah, so it's like it's like witchcraft, because that's where the whole title is. It's like this mask company is actually not an actual coven, but he has tapped into the use of witchcraft, and he's using it. He's corrupted. He's a bad guy. He wants to kill people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, and it's like he's using a stone from Stonehenge, which I've always thought was such a goofy detail. I'm pretty sure the world would notice if a stone went missing from Stonehenge.
Well, it's on the news. It's on the news, and they're talking about how they don't know how it disappeared because it weighs like several tons. It's like only this.
But no,
this Halloween conglomerate had the finances to be able to.
Right.
It's weird.
The power of magic. But yeah, so it's like this doctor. Oh, and there's weird androids that are part of it. And
so
it gets real fucking goofy.
Those guys in the suits, one of those guys is involved in like the first kill. And the first couple of kills in this movie are super cool. So there's a guy who has his like eyes shoved into his skull by this like android type dude, and then that same android dude like goes into his car, drenches himself in gasoline, and then lights himself up and kills himself. And it's like
blows the car up.
Like, what the fuck is going on in this movie? And and it mostly follows this doctor from the hospital who kind of was in charge of that patient and knows a little bit about it. Starts investigating, leaves his doctor job, leaves his family and his obligations there.
Right. And is on this investigation with the patient's daughter, and they like there are movies back then where like a love interest would feel kind of quick. Like this seems to escalate fairly quick, but it would be over the course of a movie. The doctor and the daughter literally drive to this town. They get a hotel room, and he's like, she's all, or no, what is he? He's like, well, I guess I'll get another room, and she's like, well, where do you want to actually sleep? And he's all, well, that's a dumb question. And bow, chicka, bow, bow. Like,
I'm so glad you
immediately. And
because I laughed out loud when that happened, because he seems like he's trying to be polite. I'm like, okay, this is the early 80s. He's trying to be polite. He's like, oh, I'll sleep in the car. I'll sleep on the floor. And then she comes on to him and she's like, where do you want to sleep though? And he's like, well, you know where I want to sleep. I want to.
That's a dumb question. Yeah. And then they bone.
Yeah. And then, they get down and dirty. And this doctor is like James Bond. He like flirts with everybody, gets all these like women to tell him things. He's like the James Bond of Halloween movies. It's the funniest thing.
But he looks middle-aged or older.
He looks like this guy, and that he has just a classic early 80s mustache. Cool dude in a flannel shirt. He's a cool guy.
And he wears the same outfit the entire film. He even has a line about it of like, well, I guess these clothes will last me another day. Like, dude, you've been wearing that outfit for a while now. This is kind of, you would smell bad at this point, man.
Yeah. But I think it's a cool idea for this company to be just putting out Halloween masks into stores, like for kids, and running these commercials. So It's kind of
the
like
commercials are so obnoxious, but it's done like they're purposely obnoxious.
I was actually counting the days. I was like, okay, so when are we recording this relative to when Halloween is? And I was like, it's going to be
play the Shamrock.
8 days to Halloween, 8 days to Halloween, and like the whole song that plays. But yeah, that was especially like a thing in the 80s though for people that are old like us, to have like it was kind of like cereal boxes. You always had to like there was cartoons and there were like things that you would like collect and toys and masks and all of this crap. It was a very like 80s thing. But yeah, for them to have these masks and put them out into the world to
and they're like the masks that we get in that film, they're elaborate, they're detailed, they're full head masks, whereas usually the masks in the 80s and the 90s were just those real awkward, uncomfortable, plastic, crinkly ones that had the string that like always hurt the back of your head.
Yeah.
And the mask always felt like it was sucking up against your face. They always smelled weird.
Yeah.
Who knows how many people put that mask on before you wore it?
Yeah, these are nice latex masks.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I would not mind having one of these masks just as a collector piece. You brought it up in your when you brought on was it the Maltese Falcon?
Yeah,
that you thought it'd be fun to have like the little Falcon figurine. I think it would be a blast to have the Shamrock masks. I think that would just be fun for me because it's such a like unloved film.
Yeah,
that I genuinely enjoy.
That's like a deep cut reference that only true fans will get.
Yeah, I would feel very proud of that. But not just that, I would genuinely like it would be one of my collectibles that I just smile every time I look at it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
but honestly, you don't gotta watch Season of the Witch as a part of Halloween. You can actually skip it.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with Michael Myers, but obviously we included it because technically it is the third part.
Yeah,
it's so goofy.
They made the rules, so we have to follow them.
They did. So we're following them, but I wish so much that more people would go and watch this movie and just watch it for what it is. Don't watch it with any Michael Myers expectations. Just watch it for what it is. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. I'm so happy to hear that, man. I was like, Jake's gotta enjoy this movie. It's so weird and goofy and silly. Like, he's gotta get a kick out of this movie. I'm so happy you did.
It was really fun. It was a fun little diversion from the normal path we were on.
Yep. Of course, that normal path is also pretty much omitted with Halloween 4, The Return.
Yeah.
This is where the writing gets weird, where they really start trying some new ideas.
Yeah. So this infographic that I stole off of Wikipedia. It has it on the same timeline as 1 and 2, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Which just from the title, they were like, oh, sorry, just kidding about Halloween 3. We're going to bring Michael Myers back. Obviously, you wanted that. Sorry about that. So we have the return of Michael Myers now. But you're right. They do weird things in this where they kind of, even though it's on that timeline, change the story or change the trajectory of it, I guess.
Yeah, they start messing with the rules that Carpenter had laid down with that original one.
Yeah.
And I think this was even the one where they tried to get John Carpenter to come back, and he was like, nope.
I'm good.
Because he didn't...
I'm going to take those residual checks, baby.
Yeah. It's a lot of residuals. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
song.
So obviously with the title of The Return of Michael Myers, you understand he survived the end of the second movie.
Yeah. Naturally.
And this was funny, a tie-in to Halloween Kills, where the whole, like in the preview, the big shtick for Halloween Kills was Haddonfield residents are tired of Michael's shit, so they kind of want to do an uprising and take matters into their own hands. That idea is a regurgitation of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, because the Haddonfield residents flat out tell the sheriff, like, you're useless, we're doing it ourselves. And it does not work out for them.
Naturally.
But this is where it like gets weird. So we get introduced to Jamie, who is Michael's niece.
Yeah. That's kind of the first main timeline difference and the main deviation from the family tree that I talked about before, which is Michael Myers has a niece who is the daughter of his sister, I assume. And so now she is kind of the main focal point, trying to protect her from him because he's trying to find her.
Yeah, and she is a foster child, so she's been adopted into this new family, and her foster sister, Rachel, like the movie focuses on those two heavily.
Yeah.
I don't like Jamie. She's kind of annoying. Yeah. Am I wrong to say that?
No,
she kind of annoys me throughout the movie.
I think she's more annoying in the next movie, but we'll get to that.
I would agree with you. Yeah, Halloween 4, it was kind of funny, like, rewatching the whole franchise again, because I end up having the same thought a lot when I watch this franchise, especially with 4 and 5, where I'm always like, these are kind of forgettable.
Yeah. They
try so much, and they try to change the narrative, and you just kind of are like, I don't need a complicated Michael Myers story. Like, there's no use for it.
I'm glad you said that. I felt the same way as I was watching it. I was paying attention, and Jamie was interesting. I was like, okay, she's his niece. Okay, that's different. That's new. Let's follow that. And then, by 5, I was like, we're just kind of, painting by numbers. Let's get through it. Just kind of lost interest at this point.
Yeah. And sadly to say, that new mask, so I just showed it on the screen, crazy distracting.
Exactly.
It's so distracting.
It's so formless, like so white, so
it's like so smooth.
Yeah, no detail as far as an actual face goes, that it is so weird. It is just weird, not in like a scary Michael Myers is weird way, in like a, oh, you're a dork in a mask kind of way. Still blacked out eyes, that's still cool, but the mask itself is so weird looking.
It's just, I don't understand. It's like they actually went to a Halloween store in the 80s and bought like the discounted, where it's not technically Michael Myers mask. They had to rename it for like copyright infringement issues of like
Miguel Myers,
single white male killer.
Yeah, exactly.
That mask looks like it came from the discount bin of, we're not allowed to call it Michael Myers, and we had to. It's like, you know what it is? It's the Wish.com mask.
Yes, 100%. The Wish.com mask. Yeah, I don't know how. Obviously, I'm not in charge of making these movies, but if I was, I would not misplace the mask we had in the last movie. Like, where does that go?
Well, but that's a good point, because in Hollywood, whether it's television shows or films, the studios pack up all the props.
Yeah.
They are stored. They are kept so that they can be accessed for like potential future projects or whatnot. So the studio unless something happens to it, like if it gets destroyed during production,
those are some of my
definitely has all of that.
Those are some of my favorite stories of like movies that raided the studio prop department to find things, and like Star Wars has a bunch of outfits from like old serials and TV shows that they just like had around. They they had them, but they got reused in later things. And so I'm sure they didn't lose Michael's mask. They probably just were like, oh, we're going to make it better by making it worse somehow.
Right. Which is a sequel mentality.
Yeah, 100%.
We're going to... The Halloween sequels are such a great example of the sequel trap, or whatever you want to call it, of we need to overcomplicate, we need to make things bigger, we got to add more spectacle, and audiences get very disconnected from it. I think for a franchise that has 12 entries now, it is telling that the fan base really only ever talks about one.
Yeah.
That includes...
That should tell you.
That includes the newest two. It should tell you a lot. It should tell the studio a lot of, oh, maybe we should rethink how we approach this. It doesn't, because they still make money, but they're not memorable. If you asked a horror fan or a film fan, tell me what Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers was about, they would not tell you.
Yeah.
No one can tell you.
Right. It does do an interesting thing, I think, that the 2018 Halloween does better, which is have Michael outside of his mask. In the beginning of this one, he is outside of his mask. That's still here. He has this weird bandages, I guess, on, and that's interesting. Mostly because
that's because he was blown up.
Yeah, it's mostly interesting because it's way better than his actual mask in this movie.
Yeah. just a skosh. Was it 4 or is it 5? Where are my notes? Okay, it's 5. So I can't bring that up yet. The townspeople taking up arms, so they find out Michael's alive. He's come back. It's 10 years after, right?
Yeah.
And the townspeople are like, fuck this, we've had it. We're doing our own thing. But they do something that Scream actually, I feel, took from this one. Where the younger generation in Haddonfield has taken the Michael Myers lore and kind of turned it into their own traditional gag on Halloween, where they wear the Michael Myers mask, and which is funny because their Michael Myers masks are more Michael Myers-y than the one that Myers wears. So
that's it's interesting at first because you're like, oh, Michael is in more places, like he's able to be in multiple places at once, and then you realize, oh no, it's just kids who are being funny, standing around in the Michael Myers outfit, and they almost get shot by Loomis and the gang of the posse here. But yeah,
they actually do shoot again.
It's just kids, I guess, dressing up like that, and so it stops being interesting in that case.
Right. But yeah, I'm trying to remember. How does Michael quote unquote die or he doesn't? This one is a very open ended one. Yeah, this is the one where he doesn't actually nothing happens to him at the end of this one.
Yeah, the most interesting thing at the end is that his niece changes or starts to become a killer like him, basically.
Yeah, so she the ending is pretty disturbing. I do like the ending of this one. Where, I mean, it feels forced, but I don't mind it. Where Jamie kind of she has the Michael Myers tendency, so she turns into a killer and she stabs her foster mom.
Also dressed as a clown.
Also dressed as a clown, wearing it looks very similar to the clown costume that Michael wore as a child.
Yeah.
And then it ends with Loomis screaming no on the staircase. Yeah, while Jamie just stands there covered in blood.
Yeah, he's like, how did I not see this coming? She wanted to dress as a clown for Halloween.
Right.
But yeah, I do enjoy Loomis coming back also. So it's not just the return of Michael Myers; it's also the return of Samuel Loomis, and I like him as a character and a guy who's trying to, I guess, he's the antagonist to Michael Myers, or the protagonist probably, because Michael Myers is the bad guy.
right.
Not the hero. Don't at me. Loomis is fun, and there's kind of this in this timeline that we've been talking about. He and Michael are the main throughput kind of thing.
Yeah, they're the ones that are still continuing the timeline because Laurie is gone.
Yeah.
They don't ever really even talk about Laurie. I think she gets mentioned a couple times, and that was it.
Yeah, which you would
kind of weird.
You would think, this being a big family movie, the niece of Michael Myers is interesting that they don't bring her up that much.
Yeah.
So 5, unless you have anything else. 5 goes right into it, so it's kind of like 1 and 2, 4 and 5 are continuations of each other,
right? And this time it's the Revenge of Michael Myers. It's almost like this franchise was trying to pull the Star Wars titling.
Yeah. or Jaws. Jaws also has terrible sequels as far as titles go. And there is a Revenge.
Well, and as sequels go.
Yeah.
So Revenge of Michael Myers kicks off for the opening scene right at the end of Halloween 4, but then it time jumps a year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where things really get goofy. From Halloween 5 to Halloween 6, we get introduced to the mysterious man in black who just walks around Haddonfield.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Sam Hain talk of like sacrifice stuff. I mean, that comes more in 6, but they start hinting to a lot of it.
Yeah, laying the foundation.
Yeah. And then they do what is one of the weirdest decisions, in my opinion, where Jamie is like telepathically connected to Michael.
Yeah, so she has like this psychic connection to Michael Myers, and as he experiences things, she is experiencing it as well from a distance. She's in like a facility, like a psychiatric asylum facility. She's lost her voice because she can't, and she can't like scream or anything, which I thought would have been more interesting. Like later on, like she's trying to scream for help, and that never ends up really happening. She gets her voice back pretty fast, I think.
This movie has a lot of, so the Curse of Michael Myers gets shit on a ton, rightfully so. It's a bad movie.
Yeah,
but I kind of think Halloween 5 makes worse decisions with everything. And we're going to get into that. And it's all around Jamie, Rachel, and the other friend. I can't remember her name. It starts with an A.
Alice? Annie?
No,
Alice? Annie's the other girl in the main one.
Annie's the other girl.
Yeah.
I'll find it. Go ahead and... oh, look! The mask is still weird.
Yeah, the mask is not the same weird. It's different weird from the other weird, but it's still weird and not good. Not great. Better. But I will say it's better. It's detailed and scary, but it's not as good as it was. What happened?
It's still weird.
Yeah. This house is also different. That's not the actual Michael Myers house, but whatever.
Thank you. Yeah, this was like someone did not watch the early Tina. Her name's Tina.
Not even
I was thinking Annie from I know. I was thinking Annie for some reason from the original and Rob Zombies.
Okay.
But anyways.
Yeah, the house, it's like they didn't even try to make it the Michael Myers house.
Like at all. I feel bad for the character of Rachel. I think this movie does a huge disservice to her character. So Rachel does not make it very long into this movie, and no one seems to give a fuck.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah, it is pretty unfortunate.
I'm always like,
I thought she was decent.
I did not mind Rachel And I like the decision to kill her off. But considering how much time they've spent in Halloween 4 and the first little third of Halloween 5 of establishing, like, Rachel and Jamie are, like, always together. They do like, Rachel is always there for her.
Yeah.
And then Rachel gets killed, and Jamie doesn't ask about Rachel for the rest of the movie. She just constantly talks to Tina. And now Tina is like oh, you're my sister. But Tina's kind of just the slutty best friend. Which we did not touch on. Halloween inadvertently started a whole rule to horror films. They joke about it in Scream, and it's just been running through the genre ever since the first Halloween, where virgins survive.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you don't get naked or have sex, you're going to live through the movie.
Yeah.
But if you do one of those things, you're dead.
Yeah. And Friday the 13th is, I think, more heavy on the killing teenagers while they're having sex thing. But Halloween also does it a lot, especially later on. There are several movies where I'm like, if everybody who's having sex is going to die. This is kind of what is happening.
You just know it's happening.
And so they're kind of merging those two things, which is not great for branding. Obviously, you want to have a clear rules so the audience knows what's going on with this guy and his character.
And Loomis is still keeping up all of his, like, we gotta kill Michael, but we don't know how because he has survived every fucking thing that we've done to him. He's like, I blew him up, and he's still out there.
He's still trying his darndest to get to Michael and get him to contain.
He is. The kills are pretty fun in this one, though. I'll give some of the kills fun, some props. I like how Rachel gets killed with the pair of scissors because it's so abrupt.
I forget how. I think I just saw it in the trailer. I forgot it was in this movie, but the barn scene when those two kids are having sex.
Yeah.
And that one guy gets a pitchfork through his back. That pitchfork right there. That's pretty gnarly. How he comes through his chest.
You also get the cool Danny Zuko wannabe boyfriend who gets killed with the plow hoe or whatever. The 3-pronged plant hoe. Yeah, no, it's not like it's like the little handheld version.
Oh,
he stabs him in the head with it.
It's like a rake thing.
Sure, I'm obviously a gardener.
You're a regular farmer. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Yeah. That kill's pretty cool, but that goes into what you brought up earlier, where Michael gets in the car and he's like driving around and he's doing like not necessarily just Michael things.
Yeah.
But then we get shown altars in 5. We find out that Michael has a tattoo, which what?
Is it a tattoo or a scar? They show it in the trailer.
They showed it in the. Yeah, it looks like tattoo ink.
Could be.
It's pretty dark. Nothing about it resembles a scar.
Okay.
Where is it? I think they showed it soon.
We'll find it. But yeah, that directly leads into 6. That one right there.
Yeah, right there. See, that's not a scar.
Okay.
And so this is where they're really like laying the groundwork for. He's a man. What do they end up calling? He's like a vessel by the gods to make human sacrifices from families to appease the god or some. It gets so fucking weird.
Yeah, but at least they had a plan. They were laying the foundation. They continued it in the next movie. Not a good plan. It's a very convoluted plan. But it is a plan.
And you also find out that the Man in Black, he's also got that tattoo as well. So you're like, oh, so there's like an actual connection between Michael and this mysterious dude walking around Haddonfield. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of the weirdest thing. That's the weird part about this movie and the next movie where they treat this man in black a lot like Michael, where he'll be just standing in the distance, silently watching people, but he's in a like a black coat, black like brimmed hat, and it's like it's confusing to the audience because he's doing Michael things, but you're like, is that Michael? Why is he dressed like that? What's going on? Who's this guy? Where did he come from? Why is he here? You don't understand any of this.
Right, you're like, just explain this guy to me, because where did he come from, and why are we seeing him just walking? And it's always like his legs, or you'll see him, in the background of something. You don't see his face until the end of Halloween 6.
Yeah.
But, Halloween 4, 5, and 6, man, they go weird with a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's true. So Halloween 6 then, because they feed right into each other. We're on the same timeline. Yep. This is a nice, straight, continuous timeline, as confusing and weird as it is. At least they feed into each other. Michael's in most of them except for 3. Loomis is in all of them except for 3. So we're on a path. And we get to Halloween 6, the curse of Michael Myers.
Fun thing with this one, audiences are introduced to a certain wonderful actor that I think everyone
Paul Rudd.
Paul Stephen Rudd is credited in his. They have it in the opening credits.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't notice.
Yep.
I was just excited to see Paul Rudd. I love Paul Rudd.
Yep. This was his first feature film.
Wow.
And he plays the adult version of Tommy Doyle from the original Halloween, so they're trying to tie it all back to the first one.
Yeah.
Which is usually your tell that this is the conclusion. Like when sequels do that, where they've gone several in between, and all of a sudden they're trying to do this huge, we're circling back, we're connecting all the dots, that usually means it's the end of the franchise. Not the case with Halloween, but...
Also not the case with Halloween Kills, but we're not there yet.
We're not there yet, yeah.
They do a similar thing. But yeah, Paul Rudd,
a little bit.
I will say, for a first movie, I think this is a better first movie for Paul Rudd than, say, Leprechaun for Jennifer Aniston.
Hey man, Leprechaun is hilarious and still so much fun.
It is, but yeah, I think that people will enjoy this more in a different way. It's really not comparable, but good old Paul Rudd, he's right there.
So the opening of this trailer, it's kind of funny seeing these trailers, because when we grew up, we never watched these trailers. I never saw this stuff. I only just ever saw the films. But the opening of this trailer, you're like, oh, it's a weird secret society cult. What?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how you feel during pretty much the entirety of this movie.
Yeah, the whole occult subplot is weird. Michael's there, so in that, if I back it up, Michael's right there in this like society as their, I think you said vessel, which is accurate, or their monster to do their bidding, all the stuff. There's like this weird thing. So there's this girl tied down, basically probably a virgin girl, who I assume is getting raped and impregnated by Michael. There's like a baby that they allude to being Michael's. This is the most confusing one to me, so I need you to clarify what's going on in this.
I'm not clarifying shit, because the sixth one is so convoluted, and they try so much that it does get where you're like, what is happening? And this was a big problem with the sequels, is they tried to put too much. They tried to give you too much motive, too much behind the scenes of the character of Michael Myers, and you don't need that with him. It's the same idea. Michael Myers is one of those characters. You don't need a full background. Now, saying that, I've got something hypocritical to say about Rob Zombie's remake in terms of that, but we don't need this huge, massive backstory of his motives. All we need is Michael doing Michael things.
Right.
That's it. And Halloween 6 decides completely to abandon just doing Michael things with the whole the Thorn and the Society. It's funny that they have 666 there because it's got nothing to do with Satanism. It's
they've got all their wires crossed as far as what these druidic runes are doing and these like occult things, and there's kind of this hints to Satanism, but not really. And they don't really know what they're doing with all that stuff. They're like, oh, this is a symbol. In terms, people know it's bad.
Yeah. So the child though is Jamie's from Halloween 5.
Right.
So this takes place.
A baby. She's grown up.
Yeah. So this is 6 years after Halloween 5. And Jamie is grown up. She has a child, and she's trying to escape with her child.
Right.
So that her child does not become either the next Michael or a victim of Michael's.
Yeah.
They're never really clear on that.
Right.
Much like they're not really clear on a lot in this movie.
One of the things they're not clear on is when she gets thrown out the window. So I just saw this.
She jumps out the window. She flings herself out the window.
I was confused by that because I was like, nobody moves towards her, and she just dives out the window. And then there are a lot of weird things in this movie that hurt the continuity. So there are a lot of times where it felt like the movie should have been longer, but things got cut out because right after she jumps out this window, she does it because the Man in Black and his whole occult like group and minions are there, and the Paul Rudd and Loomis go and like look for her on the lawn. Well, they're dealing with all of the Man in Black and his minions, and then it kind of jumps ahead, and they go to check the lawn, and she's not there anymore. A lot like the first movie, obvious reference to the first movie, but there's like this awkward just line of dialogue to try to cover up the continuity where I think Paul Rudd is like, were we drugged? Do you feel drugged? And Loomis is like,
yeah.
And I'm like, when did this happen? Why are you like, and where did those people go? Like, they're just trying to cover up for lost time. Like, they didn't show it.
It feels like maybe the script was not actually finished, and then they found themselves at an impasse where the studio was probably like, you gotta finish this movie. We're not giving you more time. We're not giving you more. Find a way to conclude it. And so they go, fuck it. They were drugged, but they don't know they were drugged. I think this one, I don't have a lot to say on Halloween 6. We get...
The main thing I'll say about the group, the occult group and the Man in Black, the main problem with him and with the decisions they make in this movie, I think, and you were touching on it earlier where and they give too much backstory to why is Michael Myers like this? What's motivating him? And so they try to answer it with this weird druidic rune that he is a arbiter of doom and he needs to sacrifice his people, all this stuff. It's very convoluted and complicated and not really worth it in the end. But the main problem, I think, is that they make this guy, the Man in Black, and the cult the actual villain, and then they turn the villain of this movie, Michael Myers, the most iconic villain of all time, into a victim of this group. And so it makes it very stupid and confusing and not what you wanted.
It's not interesting. You just kind of sit there being a little dumbfounded with the decisions they're making. I gotta say, Halloween 6, the way they quote unquote defeat Michael is probably the lamest way they've ever quote unquote defeated Michael. But I'm sure it was a hell of a lot of fun for Paul Rudd to film that scene because he got to beat him with a giant pipe. That had to have been fun.
Yeah.
But he beats him with a pipe, which we've established so many times. Right. 5 films worth to be precise.
Mm-hmm.
The dude survives multiple gunshots, explosions, fires, falling from heights, like he doesn't fucking die. And Paul Rudd, Tommy Doyle, who's a little. I get what they were trying to do with Tommy, where his encounter with Michael Myers in the original one scarred him and totally fucked his world up. So he's like pretty paranoid. He's pretty.
He's like a conspiracy theorist, like a Michael Myers conspiracy theorist with newspaper articles on the walls and all of this stuff.
It's kind of funny saying a lot of this out loud. I feel like, having said a lot of this out loud for the past few entries into this franchise, the Halloween from 2018 took a lot of inspiration from the horrible sequels. Are you getting that sense too? We've got the townfolk uprising. We've got Tommy Doyle, who's super paranoid, obsessed with Michael returning. He knows he's going to, and he wants to be ready for it. Laurie Strode.
No, it's very true. It's like this whole several sequels they just repackaged into a more modern version. It's weird. I remember this.
I never connected those dots, but now I am.
Yeah. And then looking at this image of Michael Myers in Halloween 6, he's a thick boy in this movie.
Dude, someone ate a whole bunch of Chicago pizza.
He's a thick boy right there.
Like, it has only been a year, sir. Why? And all you do is walk. Shouldn't you be in pretty decent shape?
Yeah.
Sorry, we don't mean to body shame the killer, but
that cult is overfeeding Michael Myers, their pet.
Yeah. Well, that was also a problem. They changed the actor in like every entry, and it was obvious that they did because Michael's height changes throughout the franchise. You're like, okay, he was like 5'10" in this one. He was 6'7" in this other one. Like, pick one. Just pick one. Or hire the same actor. What a concept.
That's one thing I appreciate. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I appreciate in the Rob Zombie ones, he uses the same guy in them. It still feels a little weird because in the first one, he wears the mask a lot. In the second one, he doesn't wear the mask a lot. And so you get weird beard and face stuff going on, which is different.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that.
Yeah. Sorry, jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Moving. So that's the end of the main. That's like the OG Loomis timeline. That's how I think of it. Because
that's a good way to think of it.
OG Loomis is no longer in it.
So after this, we get the first time that filmmakers decide, let's forget about these sequels, and we're going to make a sequel to the sequel. We're going to do that and pretend that 4, 5, and 6 never happened. We're going from Halloween 2 to Halloween H2O.
Yeah,
20 years later.
The Halloween, the 2018 version, has gotten a lot of credit for being a requel. It's not a reboot. It is a reboot, but it's not a reboot of the first movie. It's keeping the first movie in place and then rebooting the sequel to that movie. Yeah. But that wasn't the first time Halloween even did that concept. They did it in 1998 with Halloween H2O.
And that's my fun timeline tidbit. I'm so glad your graphic shows this.
Yeah.
I did not realize that until this week prepping for this episode, where I was like, oh, they already attempted a requel reboot thing. They already attempted it, and it bombed. They're attempting it again. We'll get to that.
I think the main interesting thing, which this timeline does show, is they keep 1 and 2, and Halloween H2O is the third now in this other timeline, where the 2018 we talked about ignores 2, the whole revelation of Laurie being related to Michael. Just ignore the hospital stuff, all of that, and go from 1 to 2018. So that's the main difference, but generally exactly the same thing has been tried before. And I have to say off the top, yes, this is 20 years after the original, but whoever had the idea Halloween H2O as a title, that's an absolutely terrible title. Halloween H2O.
I agree. So I saw a funny thing. It was like a tidbit in defense of the title. Let me try and find it again real quick.
It might be H20, but everybody reads it as H2O. You said it as H2O. I've always said H2O.
It is H2O. It is. I gotta find this tidbit.
You assert it with...
Go ahead.
You associate it with water, because water is H2O. And there's no water connection with Michael Myers. That's never been like a thing or a weakness or anything. So it's so weird to have Halloween water as like this thing that you're talking about. And it doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah, okay, here it is. Their defense of H2O.
Okay.
Halloween H2O is the 7th film in the series. H2O is the chemical symbol for water, which has a pH balance of 7.0. So their defense is that it is.
That's such a like ass backward way to look at it.
Dude, I read that and I was like, no, it's a stupid fucking title. Yeah. That's what it is.
That's more of a like an Easter egg than a reason.
Yeah, this should have been titled like Laurie Comes Back. That would have been a good title.
Yeah, that is mildly interesting. I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting, but not a reason to do it.
But no, it's so dumb. It's so stupid.
But you touched on it. It is a big deal that Jamie Lee Curtis is back as Laurie Strode. It's 20 years after the original. She knows she's the sister of Michael Myers, so this follows after too. So we're all connected. Once you realize that, then it's kind of clear what's going on.
So I will give H2O and Resurrection the credit of they omit trying to complicate the story. They keep it pretty basic, where Laurie has faked her death and gone into hiding, knowing that Michael is still out there.
Right.
She is kind of paranoid. She is always looking over her shoulder. You find out she sleeps with a gun.
Yeah, going back to what you said a minute ago, I took a lot of this movie from inspiration for the 2018 Halloween, where she is obviously suffering still from PTSD from the first encounter. She's raising her son, in this case, with a significant fear of Halloween and going out and doing things, which I think was done in 2018 with her daughter, maybe a little bit better, but it's interesting in this that they started that down that path, and so certainly responsible, I think, for inspiring that.
Yeah, so I'll say I am a fan of the 2018 Halloween movie. I thought it was really well done. It brought back Michael with a vengeance. It was cool. It's brutal. But it was kind of funny this week, and just saying a lot of getting the shit out, speaking it out loud and being like, man, that 2018, not as original as originally thought.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Could we be going down the Star Wars route? We'll get to that.
Oh man, I'm so
excited. Go listen to our Star Wars episode to hear Jake and I just rip it to shreds.
I'm not a fan anymore. They ruined it. Spoiler alert.
Anyways, H2O, I actually don't think it's the worst one. It's not that bad. It's the shortest movie in the whole franchise.
I find it interesting being removed from Haddonfield, Illinois, because Laurie went into hiding. She's in California as a principal at this school. And so the whole movie is more California, colorful, daylight. It just feels different than the other ones.
Yeah, and this one is very specific and still very in line with Michael wanting to finish his business of hunting Laurie down. So the whole opening is Michael returns to Haddonfield and he hunts down Laurie's nurse to find her records of where did Laurie go, which I'm kind of not a fan of.
That it would never happen if she was in witness protection or whatever. She wouldn't have that information.
Right. And well, not only that, because it feels like we have to get Michael to Laurie somehow. How do we do that?
Yeah.
Michael investigates. Wrong. Michael does not investigate. Michael does not do a full thought out process. He's very impulsive. So I'm not a fan of him.
It's better if he has like just this unexplainable magnetic pull towards her that he just follows her and kills her because that's his like he's drawn to it. Yeah.
I feel like I probably would have ripped into it for that decision too, but that would give me a better sense of disbelief, or like I can suspend the belief for that. But yeah, I don't care for him like tearing up the nurse's office, hunting down where is Laurie, and why the fuck, if you had records of someone in hiding, would you keep it in the only bright red folder in your office?
Yeah, maybe put it in a safe, lock it up. You don't need it for a while.
Right, like
very convenient.
Or if anything, maybe don't label it Laurie Strode, and on top of that, maybe use a manila fucking envelope because that's what you're supposed to use in the first place.
You might as well write Laurie Strode's secret location where we sent her to hide from Michael Myers. That's basically what it says.
Right. Have big flashing arrow signs. Look here, Michael. Look here.
Yeah, exactly. One of the fun things about H2O, though, is the cast. So
okay, you and I are both circling Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He gets credited in this film. Like, they made a thing that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in H2O. Joseph Gordon-Levitt...
He's dead by the time the credits roll.
Right. He dies in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And his character, kind of a bitch. He's kind of annoying. He's kind of a piece of shit. And you don't feel bad that he takes an ice skate to the face, which is awesome.
It is.
You don't get to see it happen, but you get to see his body. And I will say the ice skate to the face, very Michael Myers. Very Michael Myers. Like,
you kind
of give you props for that choice.
It would be cool to see it.
That would have been cool.
But yeah, it is funny to be like, I saw him at the opening of the movie. I was like, oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I love you. You're so fun. You're so young. This is going to be great. And then he dies. And then the credits roll and they're like, starring all these people.
And they include him.
Yeah. And they're like, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I was like, yeah, I know, but he's gone. Why would we care?
But he's dead. Why? I'm not looking for his ghost to show up unless that's a new aspect that we're going to be introduced to.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's dead. He's gone. There are no ghosts in Halloween. Huh?
There's your folder.
The fucking folder. It's in the trailer.
So also
right here, Michael. Right here.
Introducing Josh Hartnett.
Yep, and his first feature film.
The first Halloween was Jamie Lee Curtis's. She is the mom of Josh Hartnett, who is his first movie in this one, obviously. And he's 17 in this movie. She was 17 in the first movie. There's a whole thing that happens where she realizes that in the movie, so that's kind of fun.
And then it doesn't actually amount to anything. It's like a detail they wanted to have amount to something and forgot about it.
She like connects it in her mind as like a motivation, but Michael didn't ever connect that, doesn't care about that, so it doesn't become a thing.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's a detail that doesn't need to exist. Possibly, though...
LL Cool J's in this movie, too.
Okay, right, he's like the most... He's such a worthless character. I hate his character in this movie.
No.
He is so... Oh, my God. I can't stand... Like, okay, let me rephrase. I can't stand...
He wants to be a writer.
I can't stand what they chose to do with his character.
Okay, that's fair.
We're going to get to that. And you already know what I'm going to say. You already know. We're going to get to it. But it might be one of the most infuriating, dumbass moments in this franchise. But we'll get to it, and we'll get to it.
They wanted it to be lighter hearted than the movie should.
Well, and I can't help but feel that he had it in his contract because this was in his hip hop days. So this was him trying to be like, "You can't kill me."
Mm-hmm. Too tough.
Right. So my favorite thing about H2O, though, is in the cast is that Jamie Lee Curtis got to star in a movie with her mom, Janet Leigh.
Oh, Janet Leigh. Fun.
So Janet Leigh plays the secretary, her secretary. Oh, okay. They share scenes together, and I think that's really cool. Janet Leigh also has the car from Psycho in this movie. You see it briefly. I love that Jamie Lee Curtis, she did this movie. She said in an interview she agreed to return as kind of a thank you to the fans of the first two Halloweens for sticking through the franchise for so long, for supporting her career.
Yeah.
Right. And for being a fan of hers, because without that first Halloween, she wouldn't have had a career. Mm-hmm. So she agreed to be in this movie as a thank you to the fans, which I thought was pretty cool. And then the cherry on top was she got to do it with her mom, who is also known as one of the premier leading ladies when it comes to horror thriller, even though her mom doesn't survive. But
maybe the first Scream Queen.
Maybe. Or at least uncredited Scream Queen.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fun thing. That had to have meant a lot to Jamie Lee Curtis and her mom that they got to do this together. Her mom, the secretary even has a line of everyone's entitled to at least one really good scare, and she rolls her eyes at it. And you're like, that feels like a meta line. I got my iconic scare, you have yours, and here we are doing this cheesy sequel. Because it's pretty cheesy.
It is pretty cheesy. I feel like it's on brand for late 90s, early 2000s horror movies, where there's a good amount of cheese fun factor in what should be a scary dark movie. There's a lot of fun in it.
So I can't help but feel every time I watch it, and I was trying to find something in the production notes and all that stuff. I couldn't find anything, so it might just be speculation. Mm-hmm. I really get the sense that the only reason this one got made is because of the success of Scream.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I feel the same way that this one exists in a post-Scream world, and I think it's really interesting. They even have a scene from Scream in this movie where it's on the TV, they're watching Scream, and so that's a horror movie that exists in this world. And that's a thing that happens in the other Halloween movies. We didn't talk about some of them, not all of them, but the first Halloween movie, John Carpenter focuses on for a decent amount of time the opening of Howard Hawks' The Thing on TV, and they're watching a scary movie on Halloween, and that's a thing you do. And so it's kind of a fun thing for me to see the movie references of other horror movies in the Halloween franchise. And as a massive fan of Scream and a massive fan of Halloween, it's a weird meta thing that goes on. So Halloween was so iconic that it affected everything that came after. Scream came after. Scream was a commentary on Halloween. It couldn't have existed without Halloween and all of these other movies that it made commentary on.
They even watch Halloween and use Halloween as the basis of the rules of surviving a horror film.
Yeah, they completely dissect Jamie Lee Curtis and what it takes to be a Scream Queen and how she survived and all this stuff. And then you get to this point after Scream, and now Halloween is not immune from being affected by the Scream meta, and the meta has changed, and so now everything after that, even Halloween, is affected by it. And so I think it's just a great example of how everything is built on everything that came before, and you kind of grow, you build on it as you grow, kind of thing. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah, I agree. I kept thinking that the whole time I was watching this one. I was like, yeah, this really feels like Scream worked so well that they thought, well, we got to do what Scream did, but we'll do it with Michael Myers. We'll just bring him back. Why not? The dude can't die. This is awesome. I don't mind H2O. I don't know if it's because the timing that it came out, for when I saw it and stuff. but I don't mind H2O. I do wish it was a little longer. I wish there was a little less spectacle in it with like what we just saw with the van, which is crazy that they show that in the trailer. Yeah. But there is one part of H2O that I'm just constantly like, why are you in this movie? I don't believe you have this girlfriend. I don't believe you would be friends with Josh Hartnett's character. And that's the guy from Jumanji.
Yeah.
Who plays the young version of Robin Williams' character. He's obviously like a teenager in this one. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm like, no offense to that actor, but when he shows up in H2O, I'm like, I don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, every time he hugs his girlfriend that first time, I'm like, oh, you're the creepy friend that no one likes. And then they kiss, and I'm like, wait. Are you like, I'm confused. Yeah, you brought up, Cool J's trying to be a writer, so he's reading a sex scene from the book he's trying to write to his girl.
Yeah. And it stars Academy Award winner Michelle Williams. She plays Josh Hartnett's Michelle Williams. She plays Josh
You said
Hartnett's
Wimmer.
Well, close enough. I got some of the letters.
Oscar Wimmer.
Oscar winner Michelle Williams. She is Josh Hartnett's girlfriend right there.
Yep. Before anyone knew who she was, which is also a fun thing with like these late 90s slasher flicks or horror flicks, because it turns out there's a lot of pretty big names now who were not then. So it's fun seeing them back then. That scene right there, I like that scene a lot, where Michael and Laurie are face to face for the first time in 20 years. I do like that. I don't like the mask. I think the mask looks a little odd still.
Yeah.
Like the nose looks very pronounced.
The nose and the hair just feels like, I don't know, it feels very like a kid brother kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah,
but they make a big deal
like
about. Yeah, I liked it how they first met face to face again in a long time there, and especially because the whole movie she builds up, he's my brother, he's after me because he's my brother, and all this stuff. They play into that pretty heavily in this movie, and his kills, they go back to a more simple, impulsive way of killing for Michael in this. When he arrives on campus, he doesn't really do a whole lot of like special things. He just kind of kills, which I was very thankful for. But yeah, H2O, honestly, like it has a low, I think it's like 5.3 or something like that on IMDb. I think that's a fair one, but it's not horrible. It's not good, but it's not horrible. Compared to 4, 5, and 6, I like that they omitted 4, 5, and 6 for this one. I like that they were like, no, we're going to just kind of, let's continue the Laurie Strode timeline, because she's the character audiences want. She's the character audiences actually care about and want to watch, because no one gave a fuck about Jamie. It's true. It's honestly true. Yeah, I think that it works well, especially if you like, or at least don't mind, the late 90s, early 2000s campiness of horror movies. You just want a fun horror movie with characters that are likable enough, and you want to see some cool people get killed in cool ways. It accomplishes that.
It does. Now, what I was alluding to before we get into Resurrection, LL Cool J gets shot in the head and dies. There's a giant pool of blood. And then he rescues Laurie Strode at the last second from being killed by Michael.
Yeah, and they completely deflate the meaning of when he gets killed. So when he gets killed, the guy, her boyfriend or whatever, like takes a gun and just shoots this figure and shoots him down, and you're like, you were in that case, at that point in the movie, being very excited and defensive, and you're like, yes, you need to do whatever it takes to survive. And then you realize, oh no, you just killed this guy that we all liked, and you didn't actually identify who he was before you shot him. That's a mistake. That's a problem right there. And but then it doesn't end up mattering because he just comes right back, saves Lori.
There's only a tiny bit of blood on the side of his head, and they try to save face with that classic Hollywood technique of we just need one line to try and clear it up. And he's on the phone. And he's like, "No, baby, the bullet just skimmed my head. I'm fine." And you're like, "No."
Yeah.
Like, there was blood splatter. There was a pool of blood. I get head wounds bleed like crazy, but you were dead.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I said out loud, I was like, you bled a lot for that bullet to graze your head. That's impossible.
But then, the van, so H2O gives you the kind of conclusion. Lori, they think they've killed Michael. She takes his body with the intention of basically the double tap mentality. Like, I'm taking his body and I'm going to fuck it up to make sure this dude cannot come back.
She's very, which I totally appreciate. She had killed him. They all assume he's dead, but she needs to be sure. So she steals his body in the truck or in the van, and ends up fully killing him, decapitating him. There's going to be no question that he's dead. And so that's a brave thing for a Halloween movie to do.
Yeah, and they do kind of a weird thing as a Michael Myers fan, which kind of weirded audiences out, myself included, until you get Resurrection. But Michael is pinned between the tree and the van. Remember, you can't kill him normal ways. He's completely crushed. It would annihilate any human being, not Michael. But he starts reaching out, and they try to play that sentimental music behind it, and she's reaching her hand to him, and you're kind of like, why is he being kind of sentimental in this moment? I feel like Michael would, if he knew this was the end, he would not be going out sentimental. It would be like, I'm okay with the reaching out, but maybe do it in an aggressive way where he's
trying to kill
desperate, suddenly trying to, but then now we can jump to Resurrection.
Yeah.
Which I do feel is a forced sequel. I feel like this was a cash grab.
It's not only forced and a cash grab, it awkwardly undoes so much of what H2O tried to do. So H2O was like a reset, ignore the timeline we were on, let's bring Laurie Strode back. Now we're kind of fixing things, and we kill Michael Myers, and so we can do interesting things.
Yeah, we conclude the story.
Yeah, completely conclude it. And then in the opening of Resurrection, they undo all of that. They're like, just kidding, Michael Myers wasn't killed. And Laurie Strode is in a mental asylum, and let's kill her immediately. Let's not have her in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with Resurrection, and I have several problems with Resurrection. I'm okay with Michael swapping bodies, and it ends up being one of the paramedics that gets beheaded, because then that explains why Michael looked kind of sympathizing, kind of reaching out in a help me way. They explain that. I'm okay with that. I'm also okay with Laurie being in the psychiatric hospital, being nuts, knowing that Michael is still out there coming for her, and feeling kind of super shitty because she killed an innocent man whose only job is to save lives. Right. Job. That came out wrong. You know what I mean? They take an oath to protect life.
Yeah.
And she killed him.
It's her fault for making assumptions that she killed him before she took off his mask. She didn't realize that this could be a guy that couldn't call for help or explain anything because Michael had crushed his larynx, and he's just desperately trying to get her attention.
Which is also, that's very in line with a Michael Myers thing. There were plenty of people he chokes to death, and they've established from the very first movie, he's got some super strength, whether it's supernatural super strength or just the dude is powerful. it's very believable that he could take someone's larynx and just crush it with, his bare hand.
Totally.
And I'm not a doctor, so maybe that's actually more doable than I realize.
I imagine
don't blame me.
Even sissies like you and I could do that, probably.
Possibly. But I love the opening.
The one thing in the opening that I feel like I would have done if I was Laurie Strode, if I'm in that asylum and I'm locked up and I'm dealing with all that, and I know Michael's still out there, or I'm concerned that he's still out there, she should have done what Sarah Connor did in Terminator 2 and just get jacked. Just start working out in your cell every day, get jacked, and then when he comes, you'll be able to fight him.
I agree with you 1,000%. Like, yeah, she should have pulled a Sarah Connor. That would have been fucking awesome. Oh my God, that would have been so cool. But we do get Michael shows up. They have a confrontation, and Michael kills Laurie in the before opening credits. And that pisses me off every time I have watched this movie. I'm like, Laurie is so iconic. Laurie is so important. I'm okay with her dying, but why couldn't you have just turned this movie, like, make that whole opening the movie? You should have just made that your film and still kill her at the end. You could have killed her at the end and let Michael survive, and it would have been a more satisfying conclusion because, Michael's mission, if you will, is over.
Yeah.
And Laurie is now dead. But instead, we get it in less than 10 minutes of screen time. And you're like, wait, there's still a whole film. And then they include her in the opening credits, just like they did Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's so awkward to me. And the way she dies and she like kisses his mask. And I do like when she's like, I'll see you in hell, because I always like when someone says that. I like when Han Solo said it in Empire. I like it when Laurie Strode says it here. I'll see you in hell. It's just a badass thing to say before you die. But yeah, it feels awkward. And to be that early in the movie, it's so weird.
Yeah. And then reality TV meets Michael Myers.
Yeah. This is a very early 2000s post-Scream movie. This is the one that feels the most like, oh, look how successful Scream was. Let's do that with Halloween. And I feel like I get that vibe from the main girl in this movie. I like that girl. I like that girl and her like main protagonist role, but she feels very much like a Scream heroine where they're like, let's take her, let's kill Laurie. Laurie is done. Kill her immediately. This girl is now our main character, and her experience and her PTSD and all this stuff is what we're going to carry forward.
Right. And it doesn't work. The problem, well, there's so many problems. But a big problem with Resurrection and with a lot of the sequels, honestly, and Rob Zombie's remakes. It's like a recurring mistake that has happened so often, you almost wonder if they're not mistakes. You never give a shit about Michael's victims, except for in that first Halloween. Like, you feel bad for the babysitters. You feel bad for the hospital staff. Post Halloween 2, you don't care about the people that Michael cares because they're all so annoying and they're just bad people. And Resurrection doesn't try to change that. I hate the characters in Resurrection. Hate them all. Tyra Banks, irritating. Busta Rhymes, he's my favorite rapper. Annoying.
He's annoying. I always laugh though at his like, he's like a fan of kung fu movies, and he always like, he's kind of funny in some parts, but he's generally annoying, and everybody is.
But he's annoying. And then they do the same thing that they did with LL Cool J, but with him. Like, dude, you got jacked by Michael Myers, and here you are like, no, bro, I'm alive, and you're like, no. Why?
Oh, for
Stop doing this, Miramax. Like, yeah. I do like Michael's mask in this movie, minus you can see his eyes. Because I don't want to see his eyes. But it looked like the mask itself, they kind of were trying to get back to a creepier look to it. Yeah. I mean, the dark eyebrows is a little too makeup-y, but there are shots in the house, in the shadows, where the mask is a little effective again. Because I don't feel like his mask has really been effective for a long time. But that guy, who cares?
And there's the guy who's the least memorable friend from American Pie. He's in this movie too.
Yeah, he dies, and you don't care. Like that's a problem. You should care about the victims because that's what makes a horror film like. That's what makes it tense. That's what makes it scary. Is you care about the characters. So when you have a full movie where you don't care about the characters and they start dying one by one, you no longer watch it with like a, oh shit, you're watching it like about time. You should have killed them earlier. Like, or you should have killed them in a worse way. Why did you only stab him 5 times? Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
This
is a very early 2000s, let's focus on technology movie as well, where the internet is a thing now. This girl has, they have Palm Pilots that get emails immediately. I'm not going to lie,
completely forgot about Palm Pilots. Forgot that they used it in this movie. And when I was watching it this week, and she, pulls it out and she's typing and it's working incredibly fast for 2002.
Yeah. She's got a stylus. It's like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, but I was like, oh my God, it's a fucking Palm Pilot. I remember those things. And then he's on the internet, streaming her show on the big, on the TV, but on the computer at the same time, instant messaging her. And I was like, none of this shit moved that fast. Are you kidding?
Yeah. I feel like this movie will weirdly hold up better for younger generations who are used to an internet show being streamed to people. Because I remember in early 2000s, there's no way this internet show.
Oh, hell no.
Streamed to people. They all watched it. This guy was broadcasting it to his TV while also typing on his laptop and sending her emails that she would get right away on her Palm Pilot. Didn't happen. Impossible.
No. For the younger generation, just to give you an idea of what the internet was like in 2002 in our younger days, did you ever hear the dial-up tone? That pretty much tells you everything you need to know. And when you try to load a photo or a news article, you would click on the link and you had to sit there for minutes, sometimes half hour or longer.
Even at the cutting edge, when you could stream a video, like a live video, it's about the size of a postage stamp. It's in QuickTime. It's the shittiest little quality. You can't see anything. So impossible.
So pixelated.
It's really funny to watch it and know when this came out. I think if you watch it now in the world where all of that's possible at any given moment, it makes more sense.
I sadly have to agree with you. I think of the whole, this one might hold up the best just because it was ahead of its time. And you're like, it's such a bad movie to be ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But internet did not work near as well as it does in this film. But that's just a Hollywood trick. But the Palm Pilot really made me laugh. He's in the house. Run! God damn it. Not even text messages arrived that fast, guys. Come on.
Yeah. It reminded me of I meant to look it up. It reminds me a lot of House on Haunted Hill, where there's a lot of video recording through camcorders. And I didn't remember what came first.
That is this one did. That is a horrible movie, though. House on Haunted Hill was real bad. But there was one that was even worse. House of the Dead. That one. Oh my God. Dude.
Yeah.
House of the Dead. If you've never seen that one, folks, don't. But if you feel masochistic, watch House of the Dead. Whew.
They at least got the Myers house right.
So yeah, the Myers house. They tried to like make it look dilapidated, and no one's lived in it for years. Which I said at the start of this episode, like, why would you move into the Myers home? So I like that they're back at the Myers house. I do like the idea. I wish it wasn't a reality show shtick. Mm-hmm. I think it could have been. I'm trying to stick with the idea of keeping Laurie dead before opening credits. Had it been like just a few people just making like a little documentary, or like, hey, paranormal investigators going into the Myers home to spend the night, I think that would have been better, which it kind of is, but this movie's more of like the spectacle of the reality show. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been more interesting to have them kind of doing like a case study on Michael Myers. That would have been cool. Which they kind of allude to in this one, but it's all set up with fake props. I mean, there's an arm that's made in Taiwan that they make a joke about. There you go. Hey, you just missed your big-ass knife. Yeah, look at that fucking thing.
Biggest fucking knife ever.
You said earlier, every kitchen has these knives. No kitchen has that knife.
No. That's like a shovel. That thing is massive.
That thing's huge.
It's as long as that guy's on.
So big. It is. Bigger than his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, Resurrection just... it's a big letdown. And it kind of makes sense that 2002 was the last time we heard anything Michael Myers until Rob Zombie remade it.
Yeah.
In 2007. 8?
Yeah.
It's
if you take Michael Myers killing people seriously, it's a huge letdown. If you don't mind early 2000s super campy, fun horror movies that happen to be about Michael Myers, then it's all right.
Yeah, again, not the worst one in the franchise. I mean, obviously, although I'm a huge Michael Myers fan, I think it's pretty clear I'm not a big fan of the sequels.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think that's uncommon.
No. But man, the sequel's just not great. But then we go for a 5-year hiatus where there's no talk of Michael Myers. Everyone thinks that he's done. The franchise, I think audiences kind of felt the franchise had been ran into the ground. Which it kind of, I kind of have to agree with that. But then Rob Zombie.
Yeah, for the first time, entirely rebooted. Ignoring the first movie, ignoring everything. Let's make it from scratch.
Yeah, we are rebooting, remaking, and we've got Rob Zombie, horror aficionado, musician, at the helm. And this is coming hot off the heels of like House of a Thousand Corpses. And I think... No, that was the only one. So it was House of a Thousand, because he did The Devil's Rejects after Halloween. But this, like, it made sense. The formula made sense. Yes, Rob Zombie makes perfect sense to make a film, to make Halloween. And he was pretty clear when he was making this one of, I'm going to show you Michael's childhood. Like, we're going to see what his family home was like, to give a possible... explanation as to why he's so violent, why he's this kind of killer, which I was okay with. I honestly, I know I said earlier, like, I don't need a backstory on Michael, but I'm okay with seeing his childhood, at least a small glimpse. Obviously, we only get to see 2 days worth of his childhood before he kills his sister, and suddenly, not a stepdad, but like his mom's boyfriend.
Yeah, but I feel like you get a good representation of what his home life was like what he was experiencing, how his mom was, how his mom's boyfriend treated him, all of this stuff. Other kids.
I will say, and this goes for Rob Zombie's second installment as well. I think he kind of went overboard. I think it would have been fine to tone it down because, one, I mean, we hear the word fuck like 40 times in the opening sequence. And you're like, this is just... It becomes mind-numbing to a point. Like, his sister is pretty vulgar. She makes, masturbation jokes while her mom is right there. The baby's but she's like, to her little brother. It's the way that she does it.
Her mom's boyfriend is pretty inappropriate sexually towards his, like, ostensibly stepdaughter.
Yeah, he's saying, like, she's got a great ass, I'd get in on that, and the mom's like, the fuck did you just say to me? Don't ever fucking say that fucking ever fucking again. And you're like, okay. Now the dialogue just feels like you wanted to say fuck as many times as possible. But that's kind of a Rob Zombie thing in all of his movies. All the characters say fuck excessively. Yeah. Like, okay, we get it. You can move on. I will say Rob Zombie does something very well in the first Halloween where he makes the brutality so unnerving that you are uncomfortable as it's happening. And I think we didn't feel that kind of discomfort since the first original Halloween. So I give Rob Zombie a lot of props for that. The brutality just makes you feel ill.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is this movie is treated much more realistic. And even, I think you would think that even looking at it isolated on its own in a vacuum, but especially as we're watching it in a series and we're coming off of the campy funness of the last two movies, this is a jarring, realistic, gross in some ways, serious in a lot of ways, violent movie.
Yeah, and I remember watching this in the theater, and so I guess I did see not just Halloween 2018 in the theater, but this one as well. I remember watching this and thinking several times while watching it, like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is like, I'm like moving around my seat. I'm kind of antsy because it's just, when does the brutality stop? But that Zombie did that on purpose. He wanted to make it brutal. And originally he only wanted to make this one. He wanted to make a singular Halloween film. No possible reason for a sequel. So he wanted Michael to be human, and just like wanting to kill. He did keep the idea of Laurie being a sister. They talk about that pretty early in this one, actually. So it's not a big twist. But I don't mind this one. For a remake, I don't think it's a bad remake. I think he got down to making Michael scary. I mean, and he's got Tyler Bane playing Michael, and Tyler Bane is huge in general.
6'9".
Yeah. 6'9". I was close. I said 6'7" at the beginning. I was close. I was 2 inches off. Damn. That was good. Most audiences will know him from playing Sabretooth in the very first X-Men movie from 2001. That's your Michael Myers.
I think it was Ajax and Troy. He was also a wrestler, just so you know.
There it is.
Dude. He's a Canadian guy. He's really big.
Big guy. Yeah. But he's effective as Michael because he's so looming. I mean, and I do love the style of the mask in this because I like the grossness of it. I like that it's like kind of cracked and old. It looks yucky.
Yeah. It looks like he's been, it's been sitting around for 20 years. Well, it's been in an asylum.
Yeah. And Rob Zombie I think he did the callbacks pretty well, with Michael wearing the sheet with the glasses. I thought he did that. Yeah. Like, you could tell that was a little nod. It's Rob Zombie's Halloween is genuinely disturbing. Like, you feel sick through a lot of this movie. Rewatching it, because I haven't watched it for so long, and then rewatching it this week, there are a couple parts, like, in the beginning, when young Michael is walking down the hallway after his sister and he's wearing the mask, like the way that scene or sequence is edited together and the ominous music that's playing to it, I was sitting there watching it and was like, man, like this is actually kind of a tough one to get through, and I haven't even gotten to adult Michael yet. And then the real violence kicks in when he's an adult, and there are scenes where I'm like, man, this is like okay, all right, like, but as a horror fan, I like that, so I give Zombie a lot of props. There is one thing in this movie though that I just roll my eyes so hard at.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, God damn it. You were doing so well with Michael Myers. You were doing so well with establishing just this unrelenting force that's evil.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he's got Laurie in the pool full of leaves. Or in the basement. And he's handing her the photograph as if like, look, I'm your brother. Like, we're connected. I fucking hate that.
Yeah. It's Michael Myers should certainly not be like emotionally trying to connect with her in like a like reminiscent kind of way.
I had totally forgotten that was in it. And when it happened, I was like, oh my God. You just spent like an hour and 20 minutes establishing how cold-hearted and disconnected and evil Michael is. And now you have him trying to have a human connection with Laurie. God damn it. No. So heavy eye roll right there. I hate that part so much.
Yeah.
But
no, totally agree.
On the opposite part of that, though, the ending to Rob Zombie's Halloween, I feel, is one of the most effective and just like leaves you kind of stunned feelings in a Halloween film. And that's like the gunshot, her screaming, and the credits roll.
Yeah.
That is covered in blood. And it is so like, and he holds the camera on her screaming before it cuts to the credits. And you're just like, oh my God, I need to watch something calm right after this. So although I hate that's the basement part so much, I feel like he makes up for that with how he concluded it. But I mean, he does the whole thing going through his home with Loomis and Laurie trying to like fight and hide from Michael when she's in the ceiling and he's just like busting the ceiling apart with the 2x4. That I like that. There's a lot cooler parts in Rob Zombie's Halloween that are very like, this must have been like what it was like for audiences watching Halloween in the theater in 1978. Like, you feel unnerved, you feel gross, you feel just stunned and affected. So I give Halloween, the remake, actually kind of a lot of props.
Yeah, it feels like you can tell often when somebody is a big fan of a property and then they get to make their version of it. And there's tons of respect to the original in it, but they also have their own personal take that may be darker or different in some way. And so, it certainly feels like he had I think it's a very good reboot in the sense that it had a very healthy respect of redoing all the great things of the original, also building on it, modernizing it, making it scary again for later generations, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So I don't mind the remake. Like I for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say that I agree with you on your sense that showing him as a backstory as like a kid and his motivations and kind of what drove him to do this, explaining those kinds of things is a very like late 2000s up into right now. Our villains are very much explained, complicated, realistic, multifaceted, gray area kind of characters. And I get that, and I like that. I do have a little bit of a disconnect between seeing this kid murder his sister and mom's boyfriend, then seeing him in the hospital talking like a normal kid, talking to Loomis, talking to his mom, he's fine. and then we jump to him being a silent, murderous man who's like older and your normal Michael Myers. There's still a disconnect there, and so it's never going to fully flesh out until you explain every detail. And so I still think the best thing is to not even have any of that and have it jump from silent murderous kid to silent murderous adult.
I agree with you on that. I would say they could have, Rob Zombie could have and should have skipped pretty much the whole asylum sequence when he's still a kid talking with Loomis. And Loomis is like, oh, you don't remember the murders at all. And he's like, when do I get to go home? I think they should have skipped all of that. Yeah. I think it should have gone from Michael in the back of the cop car where he looks at you as the audience, and then they like do that fun editing where you find out he's not looking at you, the audience. It's like a camera crew is there, so he's looking at the camera crew. Fun little editing thing to be like, he didn't quite break the fourth wall, but he kind of did. I think it should have cut there, and then you could have cut to Loomis telling him, hey, this is the last time I'm coming. You haven't spoken for 15 years. I think that would have been a better edit. Yeah. Because it would have established like Loomis's fear of Michael. Because I do feel Loomis is a little too loving to Michael. He even calls Michael like, you're my best friend for like the last 15 years. You just don't talk to me. Yeah. I think that kind of gives like, but in like 5 minutes he's going to escape and you have to be on your like, I got to kill him. I got to kill this guy. So I think omitting a lot of the asylum would have been better. Now, Michael's escape from the asylum is fucking brutal. Yeah. Like, damn.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And his whole like thing with making masks and wearing masks and hiding behind masks is cool. A lot of everything Rob Zombie does is cool in this movie.
Yeah. Too bad it did not translate when he made the second one.
Yeah, so that's a good transition point. And I will say I generally like the modern trend of explaining villains and their motives and things. I think that's totally cool and fine and important in some ways as well. But I also think everything is circular, and we will probably go back to. I saw a meme the other day that was like, these villains nowadays, they have like complicated characters and shades of gray and all these different facets of backstory. And then it showed like villains when we were kids, and they were like Skeletor and Cobra Commander. It's like, no, bitch, I'm evil. Like, I'm just evil. I'm evil because I'm evil. And so I could see us going back to that.
Bitch, I'm evil because I just am.
Yeah.
I like
we don't
that.
Need a reason.
I agree. I think we need the villains again, that you don't need an explanation. There doesn't need to be the broken home, woke culture style villain. I think the most effective villains are the ones that you don't get the backstory on. You and I just did our whole villains episode, and a lot of the villains on both of our lists, there's not really backstory to them.
Yeah.
And the backstory you do get is like, oh, they were evil right out of the gate. So, okay.
Right. Yeah, there's something to be had for having sympathy for redeemable characters, but sympathy for completely evil characters just makes them less villainous, less evil.
Yeah. It kind of defeats the purpose. So we go into Halloween 2, which I have to put like little asterisks on this one because Rob Zombie had originally been so adamant to not make sequels. He did not want to make one, but he signed on to do Halloween 2 so that no one else could make it. He figured if someone else makes it, they're going to like royally fuck everything up. So I'll just sign on and make it. The irony to that is he royally fucked it all up.
But at least the same guy did it.
But at least it was him doing it. I did find it interesting, and prep for this and reading tidbit and production stuff on all of these, Rob Zombie has disowned his Halloween movies due to the amount of studio interference that he had to deal with when making them.
Interesting.
I thought that was interesting, and I think that sheds a little light on why Halloween 2 is so bad. The Rob Zombie Halloween 2. Because it all feels forced. None of it feels like a genuine continuing story. If the dialogue is worse, it's so different. It's so fucking weird. Suddenly,
artsy, and there's this whole subplot of this white horse and Michael Myers sees visions of his mom and himself as a kid who's talking for him. It's so artsy and weird and not at all.
They can interact with the real world by physically restraining Laurie at one point and talking to Laurie to the point where Laurie can respond.
It does interesting things where it picks up right after the end of the first one, like the original Halloween 2 did.
Yeah.
She goes to the hospital like the original Halloween 2 did. It ends up being, I think, mostly a dream, all of the stuff that happens.
Which,
jump ahead.
Let's just say something right now. I can't think of specifics, and I've been trying to, and then I'll forget and do something else, because we're also trying to prep for next weekend's episode, which is also multiple films to prep for. I think we need a singular film coming up so that prep work doesn't feel so daunting.
Agreed.
But that's for when we're not recording. Turning a cool sequence, because the hospital sequence in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is actually pretty cool. We're seeing a little bit of it right here. It feels dire. It feels intense because Michael, he's doing the same thing from the original Halloween 2 where he's hunting her down. And now she's super vulnerable because she's in the hospital.
Yeah. Multiple casts on, obviously just got surgery. Yeah.
And Michael has shown up to the hospital. He is just mercilessly murdering hospital staff. Look out for Octavia Spencer before people knew Octavia Spencer as one of the nurses. I had to pause it and look it up. I was like, is that her? That's her.
Yeah. She's like, that's Octavia Spencer in a fraction of a minute role.
Yeah. But then to turn this real cool opening concept into a dream sequence, what a fucking letdown.
Yeah.
Of the whole franchise, I have watched this movie the least amount. In fact, this week was only the second time I've ever seen it since it came out in 2009.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I didn't remember shit from this movie. And then I rewatched it, and the dream sequence was revealed, and I was like, oh, yeah, damn it.
And Michael Myers is like a vagabond hobo guy who doesn't wear his mask all the time. You see his real face. For the first adult face that you ever really see is in this movie. He's got a big old beard, and he's kind of a cool looking guy. But he also says the first word that you ever hear him say in this movie. He breaks a lot of rules in this movie.
Yeah, he also grunts a lot in this movie, which is a new thing.
He was breaking the windows down and I was like, is that Michael Myers making that noise?
Yeah.
Do that.
Which just feels out of character. It just, God. But then, honestly, with as much going against this film, the cherry on top of the downfall for me personally, and this is exactly in line with what I just said a little bit ago, I hate the characters in this movie. All of them. That includes Laurie. They take Laurie, who you actually like quite a bit in the remake. She's sweet. Mm-hmm. She's the only sweet friend out of her group of friends.
I thought she She was good recasting. I felt like I liked her about as much as I liked the original Jamie Lee Curtis. She was good.
Yeah.
In the first one.
And then in this one, like, I get she's going through PTSD. I would get that. That makes sense. But now she's like this weird, rebellious, wannabe goth fuck up who's got a Charles Manson poster over her bed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not an expert. Yeah. I'm not an expert. But when you go through something so traumatic, not even using a Michael Myers scenario, like just trauma, do you lean into that? I mean, okay.
That's a method to do it.
Is it? I mean, it's a really unhealthy method, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to stir the pot, but there's very questionable things involving Laurie Strode and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 that I feel like her character would not do this. I don't think her character would want one of America's most notorious cult murdering leaders above her bed where she sleeps. I don't buy that.
And it's unfair to fans who know that Laurie is a pretty smart girl who was raised in a pretty decent way, that she should know how to a healthier way to cope with that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot wrong with the character. I think I wrote it in my notes. I think Rob Zombie put too much of his personal likes in the film as nods to, look how obvious it is to be a Rob Zombie movie. Look, there are serial killer posters everywhere. Look, everyone looks like white trash. Look how grungy and dirty everything in the movie looks. And you're like...
There's naked chicks with fake breasts and...
everywhere. There's so much nudity.
Yeah.
At the fucking concert. Or like the little Halloween concert party they go to. There are naked dancers on the stage with this local band. I've been to several local concerts. Not once has there been naked stage dancers. There was so much in this one. I was so annoyed watching it. I'm not going to lie, Jake. It took a lot to finish this movie for me. I was like, it's worse than I remember it being. And I don't know that I care to finish it. I was like, I might pull a first for our show and just make the decision not to finish this movie.
The worst part for me is there are so many scenes where Michael Myers is this hooded giant dude who then has the kid version of himself, which is a different kid version than the last movie. They couldn't get the same actor. He grew up too much in 2 years, probably.
That's exactly what happened.
Who's speaking for him and talking to his vision mom in a white dress, and there's this chick, and they have so many conversations back and forth about, oh, you want me? Is it time, mommy? Can I kill her, mommy? All this stuff. It's too weird and too much.
Right. And okay, let's talk about the decisions with Michael's mom in this film. First off, I think she's forced, and Rob Zombie just needed a reason to have his wife in his film again because she's in all of his movies. I respect that they always want to do projects together. I think that's cool. She's worthless in this movie. She's so pointless in this film. But also, she feels like a giant ripoff of Jason's mom. They do the whole shtick that Friday the 13th has been doing since the second part, where the mother, the spirit of the mom, is kind of the fuel for Jason to keep going. When Rob Zombie rebooted Halloween and you meet Michael's mom, she is the only character in his family, Laurie the baby excluded because she's a baby, where the mom is like, you sympathize with the mom. She does a good job of making you feel so bad for her in her situation, because it's like she is in that trap of I can't get out of the situation I've kind of put myself into inadvertently, and I can't get out. I wish I could. And she's trying to be loving, and she's trying to be affectionate towards Michael, even knowing, like, hey, you brutally murdered your older sister. Like, how does a parent cope with that? She doesn't cope with that. And then Michael kills a nurse, and she really doesn't cope with the fact that her child is just so detached from the world that he will kill. So she kills herself. Like, there's a lot of sympathy for her in the horrible situation that she has created or, like, invested into. And all of a sudden her spirit is in the second one where she's telling Michael, like, kill him. Yeah, be brutal. Like, she's fueling him. She's trying to instigate violence. And I just don't agree. I'm like, no. The character you showed us in the first one would not ever encourage Michael to murder.
Yeah. This feels barely like a sequel because of that. It doesn't feel the same at all from the last movie we saw. Yeah,
there's so much. I am not a fan of how often they show Michael's bearded face. I'm not a fan of that. There's so much to it that I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Why isn't this movie over yet? And it does feel long as fuck. It feels like it goes on forever.
Yeah, it's true. It really does.
But I'm a little bummed with the studio interference on this one because Rob Zombie came out and was like, I'm going to kill everyone in this movie. So he was going to kill Laurie. He was going to kill Michael, Loomis, anyone that was a major player. He was like, we're killing them all, making it definitive so that there cannot be any more made. Yeah. And then the studio was like, well, you can't kill Laurie, so don't do that. But apparently his original vision was Laurie was going to kind of crack and, like, turn into Michael suddenly. And while she's getting ready to rampage, she was going to get shot down by the Haddonfield police force. I would have been all right with watching Laurie get shot up and killed in this one because her character really annoyed the just absolute hell out of me.
That's so similar to 4, where Jamie becomes like him.
Yeah, so Rob Zombie made 2 of them, and only one of them turned out to be worth anything, in my opinion. Yeah. Actually, I have yet to meet someone say that Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was a good film. If you are out there, give me your defense of his film.
Very curious, yeah.
I'm very curious. I'll be very open-minded to hear your point. I hate that one so much.
Yeah. So I think regardless, Rob Zombie got his wish, though, where they didn't continue that trend and they completely not rebooted, but reverted to the original timeline and did the second requel, if you will, if that's a thing, and made Halloween 2018, which is the direct sequel to the original Halloween from 1978.
Yeah. And this one, I'm a fan of. This movie's pretty cool, even though now I'm kind of reconsidering some of the choices made in it. If it was that influenced by the horrible sequels, I'm a little worried now.
Even I think it takes... all of those sequels had nuggets of ideas that were executed poorly, but I think this maybe takes some of those and does utilize them, makes them better. This is a good movie. It's probably a good movie, best Halloween movie we've had in a long time. But it's so interesting. I like this style, for one thing. I like the angles. I like the slowness. I like all of the teases and hints of, are we going to show his face? No, we're not. It feels very original Halloween style, just modernized, like fully modernized, but keeping what you liked kind of thing. And so I like the style of this movie so much.
I remember watching this trailer for the first time. I'm still getting goosebumps from the trailer because it's put together so well. You instantly are like, there's a lot of doom coming back to Haddonfield. Like, you just understand that so early on. Like, I do like this movie. I do genuinely like the 2018 sequel. I love that Laurie is back. I love that. I actually like what they've done with her character. Well, what they did with her character in this one. Where she has dedicated her life knowing that Michael will probably inevitably show back up. Yeah. Like, she just has this understanding. It's unfinished. Michael will get out. I need to be prepared. I need to protect my family. And I like that she's so dedicated to being prepared. I do like that.
It's well done.
The brutality in this movie is on like the same level as Rob Zombie's brutality.
As he just drops those teeth into
his stomach. But not just that. I mean, when he stabs people, the woman that he kills with the hammer is such a like. I remember watching this and just immediately being like, "Oh God, you used a hammer!" Like, gross. The kid on the fence that he stabs through the jaw. Like, now this movie 100% felt like Michael Myers was back. I remember I had a coworker who, he's like me, huge Michael Myers fan, hates the sequels. And I saw this before he did, and he was like, "Don't tell me anything. Like, wait till I see it, and then we'll talk." And I was like, "We'll go see it." And he went and saw it after work, like that Friday, because I went to the Thursday night premiere. And did I see this one with you and Christy, or did I watch this alone?
I don't remember. Maybe.
I don't remember either. Oh, man, I wish I could remember. But I remember just being so excited when I was watching it, and then he went and saw it, and he came up to me, and I was like, "You saw it, right?" And he goes, "Oh, my God, Michael Myers is back." And I was like, "I know! Like, he's back!" This felt like a Halloween movie. This felt... It was almost everything I wanted it to be. I say almost because Danny McBride does a really good job with this movie. He co-wrote it. I think he even co-produced it. And I really like the darker side of Danny McBride. I think that was really well done. But Danny McBride has a problem. Okay. And that is he can't help but throw as many quips as he can into like as many scenes as he can. So I laughed the first few times with the little kid when like Michael shows up and he's like, "Oh shit!" and he runs down the stairs. That's a funny scene. I like that scene. But the kid has so many lines where it's like, the kid's not a stand-up comic. He's not going to be this witty.
Especially in that situation.
Right. So there's some parts in the movie where the witty quips, I feel, are just like unnecessary. Don't do it.
There is more comedy in this movie than normal. I mean, I laugh at the dad's jokes talking about how he got peanut butter on his penis. I mean, it's a funny thing to say, but it's not really a Halloween thing to say.
Right. But the little quips were not enough to like take me out of the film. I still very much enjoy this movie. I do watch it, not all the time, but I do watch it fairly regularly. It's a very effective Michael Myers movie. This one also, because the cover of the Blu-ray for this one and the poster was the profile of Michael Myers. And my daughter, I knew that it was effective again because she saw that cover and she was like, "Dad, can you like cover that up?" And it's like, "You don't like seeing that one?" And she goes, "No, Dad, I can't do it." And I was like, all right. That was a couple of years ago when it came out, but
the mask, we ragged on masks in the past. The masks in these movies are good. They're back to being good.
We are back to the mask, and it's effective and eyeless again, and it's like daunting, very, very daunting. That opening when he escapes, like this whole bit is brutal, but the part to me that really made me as the audience understand that there really were no limits to the brutality of this movie. I mean, Michael Myers at this point has been sitting in jail for how many years? Like, what, 30, 40 years, something like that now.
Yeah, at least 30, yeah.
So he's just been like stewing in his own rage for this whole time. So when he lets loose and starts killing again, it makes sense to me that the brutality would be heightened. That would be on a new level. And what made me really like, yep, I get it, was when he kills the kid. It was like the first time a child has actually been murdered by Michael, and he doesn't just kill him. He like smashes his head against the fucking car. So like,
yeah, he's got that pent up brutality for sure.
Yeah, but I do like this one a lot. This movie has a lot of scenes in it that I like audibly was like, oh my god, like, whoa, you fucking did that. Like beheading the cops. That was, finding the heads was like, what?
It's a funny, cute thing that Michael does, and it's kind of unique to this movie because he doesn't really do it in any of the other ones. But I still think it works in a weird way where he beheads the cop, then pulls out his like insides of his head and puts his giant maglite flashlight up into his head, so his head's like a jack-o'-lantern, and then puts it like on his lap in his cop car. I'm like, that's creepy and terrifying and kind of out of character, but also cool as fuck, so I'll allow it.
Right. Like that is one of those moments where you're like, it's a little excessive for Michael on the playfulness, but it's so cool that I totally all for it. I really like the dynamic between Laurie, her daughter, and her granddaughter. I think that's one of my favorite things in this movie, actually, is that family dynamic, how they're like estranged still, and her daughter is still, Mom, you gotta move on. Like, there's no reason to be this paranoid. And then she learns, oh no, she's got every reason to be that paranoid. But I really like that. I like the survival aspect of this movie, because that's kind of what it turns into, is how do you even survive Michael Myers?
Yeah. And it's really interesting how the trauma that Laurie experienced, she passed that along to her daughter, and her daughter grew up within that trauma, still kind of has it imprinted on her, and rejected it for the most part, didn't really want anything to do with it, but ended up kind of benefiting from it and knowing, like, it worked. Like, her mom taught her what to do, and she did end up needing to know what to do. Her mom was right in the end. So it's a cool kind of mother-daughter story in that way.
You know what I do want to know, though?
What?
Where has Laurie been working all these years to be able to afford this badass home out in the boonies with like secret lair in the basement with the revolving island? Like, that's just cool. What job have you been working that you can afford that? Did you get a huge...
She probably sued the sanatorium and Loomis's estate and all this stuff to...
The town of Haddonfield's like, we'll buy you off. Don't fuck things up for us.
You like caused me all this trauma and killed all these people. It's your fault. So pay me a bunch of money.
Maybe, but this was a breath of fresh air, especially coming off that disastrous Rob Zombie Halloween 2, and especially coming off of all the other sequels for Halloween. You know, this felt like, okay, someone did their homework, someone got back to basics, someone actually understood these characters in this story. It felt very much like a not like a love letter to John Carpenter, but a like, hey, we want to continue your original vision, so this is what we're doing. I think that's really cool. I think it comes out.
It's a legitimate return of Michael Myers in this movie, I think.
Yeah. And the ending's pretty cool. I remember, oh man, when they trap Michael. Like, it was the first time I felt almost wanting to cheer for Laurie and her family of how they, like, trap Michael in the basement and set it on fire. It's so satisfying. You're like, yes, there's no way he can live this time. Like, this is it. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, if you're a movie nerd, you at this point you already knew like a trilogy was in production. So you're like, yeah, there's no way he can live. And then your brain goes, there's 2 more movies. And you're like, fuck, he's going to live.
Like, well, yeah. And he's survived gunshots, decapitations, being on fire before, being blown up. So
right.
Nothing.
But remember, all that had been omitted with this one. So the rules were supposed to change.
You would think.
I say supposed to because... Yeah, so the house is on fire. We get that cool shot of them in the back of the truck. Everyone's bleeding out. The granddaughter's holding the knife. And they do that real close up to the knife. And that's like the freeze frame of it. And I took that as, is the granddaughter, like, is this situation going to, like, what is it going to do to the granddaughter? I felt that was a very purposeful, very foreshadow of something coming for the granddaughter.
Yeah, she is holding that very intentionally, as that is Michael's weapon, always has been. She's carrying it now.
Yeah.
Why would you take that with you if you're getting into the truck to leave this burning building?
Right. I mean, everyone's just covered in blood. And it's like, it's just, it's so well done. It really was well done. And that was like, I was so satisfied with the ending of Halloween. And then they do that close-up of the basement, though, where it's all on fire, and Michael is no longer standing in that spot. And you're like, okay, where did he go? Or is he, like, on the ground? But he can't be on the ground. Where'd the fuck he go?
Yeah.
But then we get Halloween Kills. All right, so should we, like, huge, obviously we're going to spoil the shit out of this. This will be our... Like we did with James Bond, kind of review, breakdown.
Completely understandable that you may not have seen Halloween Kills. It just came out. I don't feel bad about spoiling a movie from 1978, but I do feel bad about spoiling this movie. So if you wanted to see Halloween Kills, go see that first. Because we'll spoil a bunch of it.
We are spoiling the shit.
Give you our feelings about what we thought about it.
Yeah. So Halloween Kills. I'm going to start off. That trailer is so badass. I love the trailer. That shot, I love. Using the trailer as like, look how Michael survived. He's killing the firefighters. You got Lori and her family in the truck screaming, no, let it burn, let it burn. And of course, they're not going to let it burn because they're just doing their jobs. This preview is so effective. I remember when they first aired it in the theater, when I was able to go to the theater again, and sitting with the audience and hearing audience members being like, nope, are you kidding me? Like, yes. and I'm just going to jump into it because I know you've been wanting to hear it. Christy's been wanting to hear it. I've got a bunch of other friends that have wanted to hear it. What a letdown. I am not a fan of Halloween Kills. This movie...
was hugely disappointed in this movie, primarily because I did love the 2018 one. I thought it was a great return to form, and I expected more of that. Same people making it, same writers, same directors, but it didn't feel the same at all. It felt completely different.
I hinted to it with when we were going over Halloween 2018. Danny McBride's writing, and I am calling him out because it feels like his sense of humor. It feels like his style of writing. How many fucking witty jokes do you think you need to throw in a movie about a mass murderer? There should be hardly any of these jokes in these situations. But no, we get everything's a joke in this fucking movie. The first half is boring. I don't care about the characters. Anthony Michael Hall as the adult Tommy, I was excited for. He's irritating. He's so like, no.
I was honestly irritated by every single person they brought back and were like, look, here's this person from the original movie who's all grown up now.
Yeah.
I don't care about you.
I thought of you with several moments in this where I was like, this feels like a member berries moment. Like, this feels forced. This this movie is not working for me. And then the townsfolk start hearing like, hey, is Michael back? What's going on? And they rally up. And I do like the idea of this town rallying up and going through such like desperate panic, hysteria to fight back against Michael, who has haunted this town. The lore of Michael has haunted Haddonfield for so long. I like that idea. I think it works well for the story. I don't think the execution was that great because I'm just so annoyed with the cast. They wasted Laurie in this movie. I'm like...
Yeah. It felt very much like they made the same mistakes in this movie I think that they made in 6, which is primarily... I totally agree with the idea of this mob rising up and getting torches and pitchforks and trying to go after him and stop him because they're sick of his shit kind of thing. I totally get that. But it then it felt like a commentary on, no, the fear driving these people is really the villain because then they're acting irrationally and doing these bad things. And so they are more of a villain than Michael Myers. And he felt like a secondary villain then.
Yeah.
In that. And so it kind of took away focus.
I didn't hate the movie. I really didn't hate it. The second half I thought was way better than the first half. I know that was the one thing I did text your wife when she was trying to get me to give opinions. I was like, the second half is better because it picks up and it goes a little more Halloween-y than the first half is. But this movie does something that pissed me the fuck off. Like, and you and I have talked about this several times in previous episodes where Hollywood pulls the look how PC we are, look how inclusive we are just for the sake of being inclusive. Let's profit off of it. That's called exploitation. Let's turn it into a satire. Let's have the PC moment and then make fun of like the inclusive part of it.
Right.
I have no issue with them featuring like a gay couple in the movie. Cool. I do have an issue when you turn them into like a gag for this film. I have a huge issue with how it felt so unnecessary. Like it drove nothing to the story. It felt forced. It felt like Hollywood pulling their look how PC we are, which they keep fucking doing. And it's always like, you're missing the point, folks.
I love that actor, one of those guys in that couple, Michael McDonald from Mad TV. He's hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole sequence, so many sequences of this movie felt disconnected and awkwardly edited. So I agree with you. I think that Danny McBride gets credit for a lot of the writing and jokes and mood things that happen. But I think Joseph Gordon-Green, the director, also gets a lot of blame for the awkward editing of the movie and the mood in general. The mood from this movie, from the last movie, is so different. Yep. The last movie had so many interesting angles, interesting tension, interesting mood that this movie just didn't have. And even worse than that, it jumped back and forth between characters and groups and scenes so much that it was like, we're at this thing, let's jump back to this group. They have a very short conversation, throw some jokes in, go back to this group. It just felt disconnected and awkwardly timed, I guess. Yeah, that it didn't work for me. It felt the editing was so strange.
Yeah, I mean, the kills in this movie are really cool. I will give it a lot of credit. The kills are cool. The most worthless thing to come out of this movie, though, is the Haddonfield PD, namely their sheriff. Really? Like, none of you can serve a purpose? None of you can, like, I was waiting for the moment when they're all mobbing in the hospital. Fire the gun into the ceiling. That's a normal thriller cop moment.
Yeah.
In movies, you shoot the ceiling, it shuts people up. Yeah. Instead, he's like, oh, no, oh. It's like, God damn it.
Lets the mob run amok.
And I was hoping for more with the little subplot with the second escaped patient who they think is Michael Myers, which, okay, obviously I've never been in that kind of situation where I'm running for my life from, like, an evil mass murderer.
Mm-hmm.
But is it just me, or would it have been very obvious that the second patient, who is a short, fat, bald man, is not the tall, lean, muscular, like, I feel you would have still been able to be like, that ain't our guy. Instead, Tommy is constantly like, that's him! Let's fucking kill him with the bat! Which we'll do close-up shots all the time of.
Mm-hmm.
That serve no purpose to the movie.
Yeah, it seemed like Laurie's daughter kind of initially started trying to... Well, she tries to help that guy, lock everybody out, sure. But then kind of gives up on telling people, no, that's not him. And just kind of lets it happen. And then it seems like Tommy does maybe realize that that's not him, but doesn't really try to tell everybody else around him that's not him. And so, they just let that guy get demolished by this mob and fly out the window.
I know that I was supposed to feel really bad during that scene because the guy kills himself. I didn't care because I was like, there's so little build up to this, and you've already made it clear that he's either going to die being brutally beat to death by this mob, or he's going to kill himself. One or the other's happening. Oh, he jumped out the window. Okay. That was so pointless to put in the movie.
Yeah.
Where was your thought on this? I was so bummed at the end. I was like, all right, I don't hate the movie, but it was a genuine letdown.
I was so excited for it, and I was excited for the trilogy. I knew there was going to be another one after this, and so I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm ready for this. I love the first one. I'm ready for the second one, and now I'm like, ooh, I don't like the second one, and now I'm very nervous about the next one.
I'm with you. I'm nervous for Halloween Ends, if that's the official title. That's their working title. I am nervous for it. Obviously, I'm still going to see it. I'll probably see it at the Thursday night premiere because that's what I do.
For sure.
When I can. My daughter's always like, we'll go and have dinner and stuff and hang out, and then I drop her off at her mom's, and she'll be like, so what movie are you going to go watch now? And I remember telling her, I'm going to go watch Michael kill people. This is going to be great. And then I watched Michael kill people, and I was like, well, the kills are cool. The kills are cool.
Yeah, everything in between is not...
I was so bummed at this movie. I was trying to tell myself, okay, maybe there were other factors in why I was so disappointed in this one. I thought maybe it's because I'm coming off of the movie high that I had after No Time to Die. Because that movie, affected me. It emotionally hit me. I mean, it's still sitting with me. So good. Not just because it's a great Bond movie, but, filmmaking, No Time to Die, great freaking movie. I was like, maybe it's the contrast is just too much. And I was like, maybe, because I did have a group next to me on my left side who were talking during the entire film. They were texting each other during the whole movie. So I was like, maybe they were ruining the experience for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, but maybe the movie just wasn't good. I was looking at what other people were saying, and I started seeing a lot of people sharing my mentality on it, and I was like, okay, I don't think it was because of circumstance. I think the movie was just genuinely a letdown. I was like, I mean, it wasn't the new Last Jedi. I don't hate it as much as that one. It did not kill the entire thing for me. I mean, if I survived Halloween 4, 5, and 6, I think I'll survive Halloween Kills.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I was so bummed with this movie. But I'll give it some credit because I absolutely love the ending. Love the ending. Absolutely. I was like, okay, there's my glimmer of hope for the final one, for Halloween Ends. The whole time, the whole movie, I was like, either the granddaughter or the daughter have to die. One of them has to go. Because they're not doing anything with Laurie in this movie. Nothing.
Right.
She tries to get out of her hospital bed a few times, and they're like, no, lay back down. Okay. Which felt weird considering when we're reintroduced to her, she is so, like, pumped. Nothing's keeping her back. She's capable. Yeah. She's survivalist mentality. And now she's kind of like, okay, I'll lay back down. I'll share this weird romantic aspect with this injured cop.
Yeah. And they all lie to her constantly. They're like, no, Michael totally died. Don't worry about it. We've got it under control.
When she finds out Michael's alive, their response is basically like, our bad.
Yeah. We didn't know what to tell you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, lay back down, Laurie.
Tell Laurie Strode that Michael's still alive and she needs to get her ass out of her bed and help.
Right, because she's probably the only person that's going to be able to end all of this, which I feel like... I think Halloween Ends is going to be the one where it actually ends. I do think that. And I'm excited for that. I do. Yeah. I think her and Michael are going to die together. Like... Yeah.
Like it was meant to be.
I think that's how it's going to conclude. But the whole time I was like, one of them has to die. You're not doing anything with Laurie. Michael's clearly going to survive. One of them has to die to be that added adrenaline push for Laurie to just go balls out in this finale.
Yeah.
And then Michael, like, when he's in the center of that huge mob and they all beat him to death, I was like, if anyone thinks that he's dead now, like, you've never watched Halloween. But also, there had been rumors circulating that although Danny McBride and David Gordon Green were trying to omit as much from the sequels as they could because they wanted it direct, but there had been rumors that they were going to go kind of a supernatural route with Michael, where he's able to survive extreme things. And I was like, I think they're going to do that because he's already sustained a handful of injuries that would put you down at this point. And then he gets beat to death by the mob. And I was like, there's a third movie. He ain't dead. And then we get Laurie's monologue of like, no, he's he's just the embodiment of evil. He's not human. And I was like, there it is. He gets up, kills everyone, which is badass. That was cool. You have to admit. Those close-ups of him just being like, all right, bitches, you're all going to die. That was cool. Seeing him, like, cut the guy's leg and cut the dude's arm off, beat Tommy to death. I was so glad Tommy died. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I did not like Tommy at all.
My only complaint about Tommy dying is I wish it would have been longer. Like, just hit him a handful more times, stab him a few more times. Like, I'm all right if we go excessive with this kill.
Or bring back Paul Rudd. I preferred him.
Or, you know what? They tried. Did you hear that? They consider... They considered, let's bring Paul Rudd back to play Tommy, but it'll be like our version of Tommy, kind of mixed with what he had done, which I think would have been well done. I think Paul Rudd would have been able to fit seamlessly into it, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, I do too.
But no, they got Anthony Michael Hall, who was just a big acting disappointment to me.
Agreed.
But when the daughter died, when she gets stabbed by Michael at the end, I was like, yes, I called it for one. Because I always find like a sense of like, yeah. But also because I feel like there's a little redemption right there for this movie. Yeah, killed a major character. Now, not only is Laurie going to be like fueled and amped up because her daughter, who she has been, her whole thing has been protecting her daughter, protecting her family, and now her daughter died at the hands of Michael. But I'm like, not only is Laurie going to be so amped up, but now the granddaughter is going to be on this like super adrenaline high too. So maybe the whole Strode family goes out together and they make sure they take Michael with them. I'm all for that. Now, having said that, in my track record with here's how it should be, here's how I would do it, means they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think the granddaughter will probably live. I think that she will certainly be motivated to help. I mean, obviously, she's going to be a big part of the next movie, but I see her living and Laurie dying probably.
Yeah. Which I'm like, it makes perfect sense if you kill Laurie with Michael. Or you have Michael kill Laurie, and then the granddaughter is the one that's able to take it up and kill Michael in the end. I'm okay with that one too.
Yeah.
I'm just really, really nervous. And I made the joke earlier that it's going to go the Star Wars route, where it's just going to be like the laziest writing. It's going to be, oh shit, we're supposed to end it here, so just throw in stupid lines or super convenient props and moments.
Yeah. And studios have a problem with ending franchises, killing the villain in franchises. I think that's why in 6 they were like, oh, let's actually just or in H2O they were like, oh, just kidding, we're not going to kill
right.
It was somebody else entirely. That was a mistake. So it could be that they're like, no, we're not killing Michael. Whatever we do, he has to live. Even though this we know we're going to reboot it, we're going to start fresh in a couple of years. This is a closed trilogy, but Michael still can't die. He just can't. Yeah.
So I'm nervous. It's weird saying that I'm not like excited, like super excited. I am excited though, because he's my favorite horror character. So if I get to watch him on the big screen, hell yeah. I just really hope, because I mean the reception of it has not been great. So I'm kind of hoping that their approach for their finale is, hey, here's what the fans did not enjoy watching. Maybe we should let's make some tweaks. Let's do whatever. But yeah, Halloween Kills on our scale. I'm gonna put it right where I put Akira, that like 630 area. Yeah, 637 area. Yeah.
I agree with you in this case. I think that it's in that 637 area. It's not good. Not great. Certainly not great. And a lot of that, I'm sure, is disappointment that I was looking forward to it so much after 2018 Halloween, and it's just not on that level at all.
No, it's not. It's not even close to that level. I did not feel the peril like I did in that other one.
A completely different team made it. I don't understand how this happens.
So I haven't looked into a whole lot of the production notes on it. I'm wondering if there was studio interference with it, because it seems so sloppy. That kill's actually pretty cool with the light bulb. I do like that kill a lot. That's a cool kill.
What did you think about right after this guy? He just like keeps stabbing him.
Oh,
I was like, let's move on. I get it. I understand. But it felt like not a Michael thing to just be like, keep beating a dead horse in that case, you know?
Right. I didn't care for him stabbing him in the back with every knife in that drawer until he got to the iconic Michael Myers knife. I was like, I'm pretty sure he would have found that first knife right away, because he always does. I don't know how to make that scene. I hate it when he kills the couple who are living in his home. I hate how they treated that. Yeah, I hate how they treated that whole thing where they like try to go after Michael with the two different sizes of knives. So was it Big John has a tiny knife and Little John has a huge knife? It was shit like that. I was like, what the fuck? If I'm in a situation where like I understand my life is probably going to end brutally and not quick, Why would I be worrying about like having funny little jokes or funny little moments? Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. Like,
even their names, like Big John and Little John. I was so confused. I was like, I feel like they're a gay couple, but what gay couple calls each other Big John and Little John?
I was like, so we're getting
I feel so bad for gay Little John that is called Little John constantly by his partner.
I hated how they handled that whole thing. I thought the kill where he holds the guy's arm up and he stabs him through the armpit, like that's a cool, that's a new way, because that's got to be a painful and paralyzing stab. But then he poses their bodies. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Michael doesn't pose bodies. Michael doesn't pose bodies. Michael does not play music as a taunting tool. What are you doing? I was like, this is so not the Michael Myers that I know. What the fuck is going on? I was so annoyed watching that. I was like, oh my God.
And what's worse, I know that you know that's not him because you just made a great movie that was like him.
Right.
So why can't you do that again?
Why didn't you just continue? Here? Like, Michael Myers is not the kind of character, not the villain, you gotta worry about expanding on. You keep him how the audience knows he is, because that is proven to be the scariest version. You want to terrify your audience, you don't have him play games. You have him just, when he shows up, your audience should know, oh fuck, someone's going down. Like, he's been stalking people. Their death is not going to be clean. It's going to be brutal. That's all you need with Michael. He's a killing machine. He's not going to play games. Stop having him try to do all these new things. Fucking stop.
Right.
I was so annoyed with this movie, dude. I was so annoyed with it. Clearly, I still am.
Like, I was too, and I'm so glad that I wasn't crazy for thinking that.
Nope. Oh no! As soon as Christy texted me of like, "Does this get any better?" I was like, "Oh, they hate it." Oh my God! I was like, "Okay, the second half is better," and that's where I left it. And she was like, "Did you like it or not?" And I was like, "You gotta wait." Like, but I wanted to be so bad to be like, "Oh my God, it was not good." I'm so disappointed in this movie. Like, but
so we'll see.
We will.
This timeline has Halloween Ends coming out next year, so it may be too late. They may be deep in production if that's true,
and that
to change it and
that
get feedback that way.
Yeah, that does worry me. But yeah, man, it's so funny to me how I'm just not a fan of the sequels of this whole franchise. I have all the movies though, because it's all my character. It's my guy. But I'm like, how does a franchise be so bad and yet crazy successful in creating this iconic character? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah, that's true. If we're looking at this list, Halloween, great. Halloween 2, good, pretty good. I'd say really good. 4, meh. 5, meh. 6, really not great at all. H2O, kind of fun, but very different, not that great. Resurrection, everybody agrees, pretty bad. Halloween 3, underrated. Obviously, I think is pretty good, but nobody sees it because it doesn't have Michael Myers in it.
Right.
Halloween 2007, pretty good considering what it is, but also very dark and gross, and a lot of people don't like it, understandably. Halloween 2, 2009. Oh, nope, that's not good either. That was 2018. 2018, great. Halloween Kills. Oh, this isn't going well. This isn't good either. That's like 2 great movies, 3 decent movies, and the rest not great.
If we're going off of trend, then Halloween Ends is just going to be a massive, like, oh my God, why'd you even bother?
It's going to be Curse of Michael Myers all over again.
It could be. You know, it's funny. Curse of Michael Myers gets shit on, like, the most. Mm-hmm. Personally, I can't pick between those 3, 4, 5, and 6, which one I like the least. And I can't pick which one I like the most. Like, I'm on this weird... All 3 of them are just equally so bad, and they just do stupid things that annoy me equally throughout all three of those.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so for such an iconic character, he hasn't had a great batting average.
I know, it's really baffling.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to try to do like what order would you put it in. I'm going to try and simplify it for you, all right?
Okay.
Which one would be like the worst one for you between Curse of Michael Myers?
Yeah.
Or Rob Zombie's Halloween 2? Oh.
That's rough.
Oh.
I can't say Curse of Michael Myers because I love Paul Rudd so much. So it has to be Halloween 2. If you said between Halloween 2 and 5, Revenge of Michael Myers, that would be hard because I barely remember 5 and I just saw it this week. I don't care about it at all.
I only brought...
And those two have so much in common between being like having a telepathic connection between the characters. So those are the worst for me, for sure.
Yeah. I was trying to think last night, like, which one would I claim to be the worst? And I was like, I don't know. I really don't know which one I would hate the most. And then, like, as we were talking today and going over everything, I'm like, I'm a huge fan of his music. I'm a big fan of his first Halloween movie. I really like Devil's Rejects. But Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, man, it might be up there with like Spider-Man 3 for me. It was so bad. And I've only seen it twice. And now I look at the spine because, like I said, I have all of them. I have every Michael Myers movie. And I see the spine of that one, and I'm like, why do you exist? Why are you
Put it
here?
right in the trash.
But I can't bring myself to do that because, like, I paid money for it, and I don't know. I have, like, I've got this stupid movie-loving nerd brain where it's like, I need the set, even though I don't like the set.
Yeah, you're a collector.
But it's so weird. I will always love Michael Myers. I think the character itself, especially in that first movie, man, there's just nothing like him. There's nothing like that first one. It's so good. Too bad the franchise couldn't follow.
He's perfectly effective, and he's been able to break out and elevate above everybody else. Freddy Krueger's not the same level. Jason Voorhees is not the same level. He's just stands alone at the top of the pinnacle.
Well, it's so funny because, like, you look at his sequels, you look at this list of movies, and it's like, man, you could have made all these sequels with Freddy or with Jason, and they probably would have worked great for those characters. Yeah, having like the Secret Society. Oh, you're a vessel for the gods. Would have worked great for Jason.
Killing teenagers having sex, that happens a lot.
Yeah, would have worked great for Freddy as well. Like, hey, you're a vessel. We brought you back from the dead, and here's what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like poor Michael Myers has gone through the same problems with every film he's been in, minus the first one. I'm including Halloween 2, the one that I actually like a lot. But I'm including it because it still falls into the sequel thing of like, well, we got to add. Where they keep trying to do that. Let's make Michael do more. And you're like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yep, that's what it comes down to.
God damn it. Oh, man.
Well,
but that was fun.
I guess we'll see.
We will.
That was fun. Yeah, I think if obviously it's the season. If you want to watch Halloween movies, it doesn't get better than Halloween. Even the ones that suck, you could just put on, and they're still fun to see people get killed by Michael Myers.
Yeah, I've got a yearly tradition where every October, I watch 31 days of horror films. So I've been watching horror like crazy. Since we started this show, though, due to episodes coming up, I've had to include like normal movies in this as well. So it's kind of like jumble. But Halloween Day, I rigorously follow this. I always watch Trick or Treat and that original Halloween. Like they have to be watched on that day. It's my tradition. And it's just those two perfectly sum it up. And you gotta watch Halloween on Halloween.
Yeah. Duh. It's what it's made for.
Isn't that someone's slogan?
I don't know. Maybe. Don't sue us if it is. I don't have any money. Movie Boners is not for profit.
Nope.
So you alluded to it. Next week, we have non-Halloween movies that we are also watching and preparing for and trying to fit in. And it's the third in a series. It's been a while since we've had a Random 10 episode, but we're getting back to it. Random 10 Part 3. I don't know what we'll call it, but it'll be funny, I promise.
If you're unfamiliar with this, this is kind of becoming like, it's the third time we're doing this. Part of me feels like it probably won't be the last. So we'll pull a franchise thing probably. What's funny, though, is when you were spinning your wheel, right, your randomizer, did it feel to you like, man, you were just giving me nothing but shit? like,
I will say all of the movies that I got. So you didn't explain it, but we spin a wheel and watch just 10 random movies that it gives us that we have never seen before. So if it gives us a movie we've seen, we skip it. And it did give me several things that I'm sure will be shit. It gave me some old movies. I have one silent movie on there. And it gave me one movie with actors that I know was a real movie that I didn't see or didn't really hear about. But I know it came out in theaters and is a legitimate, like, big production movie. So I have one of those. The rest are very weird and different and interesting. I'm very excited to tell you about.
I got a ton of stand-up. And so, like, when we do these, I will skip the stand-ups and the documentaries and obviously movies that I've seen.
Yeah, I skipped one that was, like, the 2018 season of 12 motorcycle races of this, like, Grand Prix thing. I was like, no, I'm not watching 4 hours of that.
And I don't know what it is with mine. It constantly gives me, like, Middle Eastern films and, like, what was that one that I told you I tried to watch the last time we did this? Oh, man, it was like...
that you got, like, several Egyptian ones.
Yeah. So I keep getting Egyptian ones, and I'm like, nope. I will follow the rules as closely as possible. But that first experience with that Egyptian film that I tried to watch, I was like, hell no. I'm like, you got to give me something here. But it gave me 10. There is one movie that I've actually heard of on my list.
Okay.
Like, nice. I almost thought that I should not include it in my list because it's not, like, super popular, but it was popular enough to gain, like, decent viewership and all that. So I'm on the fence if I'm going to keep that one because it just feels too not what the point of our random episode is.
Okay.
But I'll let you know if I watch it or not. Maybe I'll have it as, like,
sounds good,
extra content. But
yeah, I like our random 10 episodes because something weird always happens. Sometimes you watch a movie I've always wanted to see randomly, or sometimes you watch a movie that you had wanted to see that you had just talked about on a previous episode, and it randomly comes up. Actually, all of the luck seems to happen to you. I seem to have terrible luck.
You seem to get stuck with, like, the weird nudity in movies. Yeah.
I don't think I'll have that this time. I have some very interesting ones that I'm very excited to tell you about. So it'll be interesting.
There is one on my list. When I looked it up, what it was, that I was like, oh shit, that might end up being just an incredible movie. But I have several foreign films on mine. I'm like, all right, I've got one from Ghana. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool. I have a French one. I think I might have 2 foreign.
I have a
ones
French one.
that I can remember.
I have a French one. I've got
Nice.
one from Spain. I've got one from Ghana.
It'll be our foreign film episode.
Kind of. Those might be the only ones. The rest are like not foreign film. But anyways, I did watch one of them, so I have checked one of them off. I'm excited to talk about that one.
Me too.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. So if you want to hear some of the goofiest fucking movies that you did not know existed, go listen to our first 2 random 10 episodes. This will be the first one that we'll have on YouTube. So we're gonna do what we kind of did during the Halloween episode of like showing you either the trailer or posters or something.
Some context, some visual context. So it should be a fun YouTube episode to do.
But they are fun. Make sure you follow social media and all that good stuff.
At Movie Boners on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Dustin's been putting stuff. If you want to see fun movie facts, go to TikTok.
Yeah.
And
I am sharing them on like our Instagram stories as well, but it helps more if you go to our TikTok. So go to our TikTok.
Yeah. It's very new, so we're trying to get it out.
I will say I've gotten, like yesterday, I got several direct messages from people saying like, loving these are great. So thank you guys for enjoying them. I will keep it up.
Yeah.
I'm full of useless.
I love that interaction. So. Yeah, it's perfect.
It is. Well,
I like
you and I have been like trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the TikTok, and I was like, I'm just gonna lay out some random facts. So
yeah, take control. I like it.
Your turn to come up with something too.
Oh, damn. Okay. I'll think of something, I promise.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Happy Halloween.